which was carried out by US trained, funded, and armed ultra-nationalist Croatian proxies to expel Croatia's entire Serbian population. And it led to up to 350,000 people having to flee the area, many on foot, I might add.
Vous voulez connaître la valeur de votre voiture? Simplement et rapidement en ligne sur vendezvotrevoiture.be. Saisissez les détails de votre véhicule et recevez votre prix de vente.
It has left deep and cohering scars across the region, which are felt to this day. It also, I think, has informed Western proxy strategy ever since. And it, funnily enough, in the wake of Ukraine's unexpectedly successful late 2022 counteroffensive, a wide variety of sources sought to make parallels with Operation Storm and Ukraine's actions. So it's clearly viewed as a success, even if its results were absolutely horrific. And there are reports from US diplomats who visited the regions of Croatia, primarily Krajina, which is historic Serb territory that was assigned to Croatia administratively following World War II, but had never been part of Croatia before that. They record walking through, towns and cities that had once been kind of bustling with significant populations. Just literal crickets is all they could hear. Like, we're talking like the entire wipeout of a population as a result of this. The documents that we reported on at the Grey Zone, they have been in the public domain for a number of years. Nobody's gone near them. I think the reasons for that are quite clear, because on the one hand, they show that the US, while publicly supporting a negotiated settlement to the war in Croatia, was secretly encouraging their Croat proxies to wage, yes, a brutal war of extermination and total population removal. But more generally as well, they amply underline, like how what's the word? Entwined the US was with all of this, and to use the modern comparison, like we are headed this Friday allegedly for peace talks between Putin and Trump directly in Alaska. Funnily enough, Sarah Palin's invocation of Alaska's proximity to Russia, meaning that she's well placed to be a foreign policy advisor, she seems to have paid off, shockingly, nearly 20 years later. But the real point is that we have heard a lot about the necessity of peace talks in Ukraine and a negotiated settlement. It's not going to happen because the Western powers, who are on the one hand calling for this, are also calling for total Ukrainian victory and zero concessions, which is going to not result in anything. And I, again, for the Grey Zone, but also my personal website, Global Delinquents, it wouldn't be a show with you without a shameless plug, Jamal, for my own work. We see this over and over and over again, where, in the various conflicts in the former Yugoslavia, the US's formal position was always, we support negotiated settlement.
Right.
We are striving for peace in the most difficult circumstances. But Washington was encouraging its proxies and its clients and its assets to not negotiate at all. So, despite the fact that their proxies were outgunned, outmanned, often outmaneuvered, they refused to negotiate because they believed they had endless US financial and military support. So they did not approach negotiations in good faith. They were purely for PR purposes. Except the key difference now is, well, in August 1995, the Croats had all of the Western weapons and training and a relatively weak enemy force that they could run roughshod over. In Ukraine, they've run out of weapons. You know, like the EU is like, you know, really struggling to rustle up any funds, public or private, to keep this going. And I think that in a sense, what we're seeing now, it represents the death of a kind of monstrous blueprint that was forged in Croatia and Bosnia and Kosovo and other parts of the former Yugoslavia 30 years ago. Like this model is now dead.
They still use it. I mean, and it's not just Croatia. I mean, kill squads, South America. Is there really a difference?
Yeah.
It's like, I need a thick neck guy with no conscience that's willing to kill people. Here's a gun, here's money, here's training. Go out and do our political objectives. And those political objectives dovetail in monstrous ways. And so the character of it may look different, but it's still the same thing. Like even in, if you're thinking of terrorists, right? If you're talking about Syria, and it's like, okay, we need people to overthrow that government. Hey, I have no conscience. I have a thick neck, I have a beard. Give me a weapon. Okay, here's a weapon. Go do it. And they will go and do it. And so regardless of whether it's you using religious fascists, whether you're using ethnic, just neo-Nazis, the blueprint is the same. I agree with you. It's the same blueprint used all over the world. And yeah, the biggest difference here is Russia. Every syllable that comes out of my mouth is a person Russia sends to hell or heaven. They are losing, and they're losing badly. But that's the wild part, right? Like Trump is like, this is going to be humiliating when all of this collapses. And it's about to collapse. And Europe is like, screw you, man. Let's keep this going. It's like, dude, it's about to collapse. Like Trump, look, if Trump believed that he was winning, he will not be negotiating right now. He is negotiating because he knows that this is, you know, that somebody is calling his bet. Europe, and I'll ask that question to you. Why are they so delusional?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to unpick because, I mean, I think like there has been this sense for a very long time, like within European corridors of power, if you can even call it that, which is that, well, the US will always come to the rescue. There will always, you know, whatever the rhetoric, whoever's in power, when it comes down to it, the US will ultimately pull our chestnuts out of the fire. And that's very much been Britain's thinking for a century going on now. Is that like, yeah, I mean, there's that Winston Churchill quote, which is the Americans can be relied upon to do the right thing after all other options have been exhausted. But this doesn't take into account the fact that the US, it doesn't have the weapons to supply Ukraine anymore. They're not in a position as they were in 2022 and 2023 to like build Ukraine an entire new army anymore. I have reported for my own website and also for Press TV. There was a report from GINSA, which is this very powerful Zionist lobby organization, which is a driving force behind the training of US police forces by the Israeli occupation forces. Right. And you know, it one way or another probably led to the death of George Floyd, amongst other people. They published a report not long ago which stated that the US spent about 20% of its missile interceptor stockpile during the 12-day war. Right. And it's going to take 8 years to replace what was spent in 12 days. Like, and I think that, yeah, that there is this wider delusion within European power centers. Again, I don't think that that's even an accurate term because they have no power. There's always this sense that, oh, well, at the end of the day, the Americans will come to the rescue. You know, these people are still living in this unipolar mindset. We have Kaya Kallas, the insane Baltic hawk who's running EU defense and foreign policy, who says, well, if we can't defeat Russia, how are we going to defeat China? Why are you thinking in these terms in the first place? Let alone, like, why would you ever think about taking on China? This country that hasn't like fired a shot since like the 70s, which is like,
from her, by the way.
Go ahead, please go ahead. Go ahead.
This is Kalis.
Este perrito se parece a la tía. Yo soy Porfirio, el perrito negro.
Agárrala otra vez, agárrala.
Yeah, that's Kalis. She's given.
It's funny because it's true. I think, and it just, but this is the thing, is that like genuinely, like the EU is led now by these like insane hawks. Britain is run by these completely insane hawks, and like, I mean, I think as you and I have discussed before, Jamal, that like the British still want to pretend that they're this major global power. They are at the forefront of pushing Ukraine to all of these major escalatory actions, these insane suicide missions like Krinky and Kursk. Like, this was all like British plan, and it's just like, at what stage do you take the L? Like, well, really, yeah.
No, please finish. I'm sorry. Please.
Yeah. No, it's okay. No, I mean, I just think that to circle this round to what we were discussing, initially, is the breakup of Yugoslavia was it was a classic example of what I think the British and maybe the major European powers like France and Germany always try and replicate, which is, well, we're going to do that. We're going to be like the brains, right? Like, we're going to do the psychological warfare work. We're going to we're going to do the propaganda, and America's going to provide the muscle and the missiles and the weapons. But again, this is 30 years ago. Like, a lot has changed since then. And I mean, this is somewhat tangential, but I think it sums up the kind of state that we're in right now, where I think it was a few weeks back, like the US Army's official Twitter account or X account, whatever, it published a video of a drone dropping a grenade. And the accompanying commentary was, have you ever seen a drone drop a grenade before? And it's like, yeah, like every day for 3.5 years in Donbass, and you're only trying this now. Like, and it's like, yeah, that, like, I just the total lack of learning from what's going on in eastern Ukraine now, where tanks are irrelevant, artillery is an important factor, but not the most important factor. Drones are dominating the battlefield. Russia has an edge there, which it didn't have at the start of this. And it's like, yeah, that they are stuck in this time warp where they're still, by token of being, US vassals. Oh well, we're still, even if we're deputies, masters of the world. But it's not like that anymore. You have the rise of so many different military powers, not just Russia and China, but North Korea, Iran, Ansar Allah have been using like hypersonic and ballistic missiles, which the West doesn't have. There has been a total failure to adapt to this new operating environment internationally. They want to cover their ears and just go blah 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 blah, like, and just ignore the reality staring them in the face. And I think that, I mean, if you want to, again, to bring things full circle, if you want to look at the kind of pinnacle of the Western Empire, the US-led Western Empire, global empire, and kind of roughly the point where everything started to unravel, it was in Croatia in 1995. Like, this was an absolutely brutal incursion, which was cheered by the quote-unquote international community. Russia at the time was led by drunken Western puppet Boris Yeltsin. China was poor and also trying to seek a pro-Western path. So they just kind of either cheered this on or turned a blind eye. There was nothing that they could really do about it. You know, we're not there anymore. Like to a large extent, and I might add as well that again, potentially tangentially, the mighty independent journalist Mark Ames, he wrote in late 2008 he wrote a fantastic essay, one of my favorite bits of journalism of all time, for his then website The Exile. Where he visited the sites of the fighting in Georgia following the very brief Georgia-Russia war, and you know, he found that all of these burnt out American weapons. You know, there were Russian troops feeding themselves heartily on American provided rations for Georgian forces. And he said, and bear in mind, this is a country which was colonized by the US like quite heavily following the 2003 Rose Revolution, which was instigated by the National Endowment for Democracy and the CIA. And he states in this, like, well, I can see that this is the day that America's empire has died, right? Like, we've expanded to such an extent that we can't maintain this any longer. And I think that, you know, ever since then, America has kind of been in the position of Britain in the 1930s, where on paper they are the world's predominant economic and military power. How that translates to actual war fighting capability, actual force exertion, the ability to make countries do what they want them to do, it's actually rather limited, and it's getting even more limited all the time.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's a limit when you have countries that have nuclear weapons, right? Like the moment that you have, the moment that you're not the sole superpower on the planet, the moment that, for one thing, I thought there were several canary in the coal mines. Afghanistan, where the Taliban takes back the territory, that's canary in the coal mine. The trade war with China, where you don't have the capability of exerting your will against another country that, 6 years ago you were able to pull off. Okay, that's canary in the coal mine. Getting crushed in Ukraine is a massive canary in a coal mine. It is humiliating. And yet that humiliation gets worse and worse every day, where war of attrition finally shows the 3 years of wear and tear on the Ukrainian military, where they're dragging in the elderly out of convalescent homes and kids who are, like 18 years old into a military campaign, or press ganging dancers and people mowing their lawn. I mean, the guy was riding his bicycle, Ukrainian Jeep pulls up, the guy runs off his bike trying to get away from the press gang. I mean, this stuff is outrageous, right? That is not a recipe for success. And when you are the US...
Well, I mean, I think. So sorry to interrupt my friend, but I think what probably like one of the most representative videos that I've seen of the conscription splurge in Ukraine is there was like a Deliveroo cyclist, or or whatever it's, like kind of Uber Eats style cyclist, where he's cycling along in Kiev with his like big delivery backpack like on. Right, and he gets like tackled. Yeah, he gets tackled off his bike and with his backpack and all, and thrown into a van. And it's like, you couldn't get a more perfect visual manifestation of of Western economic colonization, of the total failure of the proxy war, is that they're now having to haul in people who are, whether willingly or not, working for US corporations for subsistence wages, to die on the front line for BlackRock profits. And it's like, this is it's not really spoken about enough. And I might add as well that this is something I'm working on now. On August 7th, like Gallup, which is a highly respected US polling They published this insane data which showed that about 70% of Ukrainians favor an end to they favor they favor a negotiated end to the war as soon as possible. Only 24% wish to keep fighting. I do wonder who this 24% are. Maybe they just spoke to like Zelensky and his coterie of cokeheads or something. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's like and there was an enormous amount of bitterness towards the US in this poll as well. And it's just like, the only response to calls to end this absolute nightmare shit show emanating from European capitals and mainstream pundits and quote unquote journalists and think tank apparatchiks is just keep going.
Yeah,
because it's been such a success for everyone involved so far.
I think from Europe's point of view, though, they're not Europeans. Like, I mean, I think that's the way they look at it. It's like, yeah, you're Europeans, but you're not us. Like, if I press a button and I have no consequences for what happens when I press that button, okay, do I really care about the consequences? Like, that's more of a moral thing. Okay, but running governments is not a moral issue per se. What they know is we're sending Ukrainians to go and die. If we screw up, then it's not Brits that are dying, it's Ukrainians that are dying. And there is a level of delusion, though, in how long Ukraine can keep this up that they don't seem to acknowledge, which maybe it's one of those things of, well, we want them to fight for as long as it takes and fight to the last dead Ukrainian, and we're okay with that. But there are consequences for Europe in this. And one last thing on the Croatia thing. I was in Croatia. I went to visit, I think this was several years ago. I went to this presentation where they were talking about, I think, Yugoslavia or something like that. It was fascinating because depending upon where you are, you get a different point of view of Yugoslavia and the war and Croatia's role in the war. And the guy was telling me how, they've gotten to the point where, let's say, like a woman will go to the bank and the guy at the checkout counter was one of the soldiers that raped her and killed her husband. It would be weird situations like that because of the wars that were taking place. What do they say about it? Like what do they say about it in Serbia? Do you know what they say about it in Croatia now, these days? How do they talk about it?
Well, it's a completely crazy situation because, like, the wars this is what's really interesting as well, and it's something that my friends in Serbia, they are very keen. So, for instance, like whenever like France and England play like a soccer match, they're very quick to mock it as saying like, these ancient blood feuds, between these two nations. And it's just like the fact of the matter is that like actually before the Western fomented wars in the former Yugoslavia, ethnic tension didn't exist. Like, is a lie. Like, so I have been told many very heartbreaking stories actually of by people I know in the region who, so for instance, a Bosnian Croat I know who he was about 16 at the time, where one day he got a knock on the door. And it was like all of the dads in the local neighborhood were going out to have one final drink together because as of like 7 a.m. the next day they were enemy combatants. Right.
But what did they use for that? Like in Ukraine, they effectively use this kind of Western Nazism that they had stoked into the society and used NATO membership as the crux for that. What did they use there if there were no frustrations prior?
Yeah, well, I think the key thing was that, like, in the wake of World War II, which was like a battle for survival for Yugoslavia, like particularly Serbs, that like all of the Nazi-created puppet structures, like the Ustasha in Croatia, or the Kosovo Albanian puppet government, they all went into hiding, usually in Western countries, right? They hid out in the Five Eyes spying network. Latin America, of course, like another key exodus point for these people. But then, like, when you have independence roll around in the early 90s, suddenly all of these people come back. And in many cases, they've been working for the CIA the whole time. While they've been part of the quote unquote diaspora. So I mean, and I also think as well that there was, I mean, this is maybe another episode in and of itself, but there was also a strong like economic aspect to this. So in late 1990, the US passed the Foreign Appropriations Act, which explicitly stated that all financial aid to Yugoslavia and trading with Yugoslavia will end unless its constituent republics hold independence referendums in the next 6 months under State Department observation. Now, at this point, Britain, Germany, and the US had been supporting separatist nationalist movements within Yugoslavia for decades, and training them to carry out terror attacks, etc. So, when this legislation is passed, therefore effectively cutting off Yugoslavia, from international financial markets, you have all of these nationalist movements waiting in the wings. And again, to bring this back to Ukraine, for example, in 1957, the CIA produced this extensive 200-page document on, I think it was called resistance factors, and it's all about the potential of staging an invasion of Ukraine in order to break up the Soviet Union. And it divides Ukraine into 12 separate different regions based on the local population's receptibility to Western invasion. And Crimea and Donbass are ranked 1, which is to say they will completely reject any Western involvement. And then you go to Lviv and Galicia, these areas that are formerly Polish, and with a strong history of Nazi collaboration, and they were judged as the key areas for supporting an Anglo-American intervention in Ukraine. Concerned, yes, with breaking up the Soviet Union. So and then you fast forward to Maidan, and the same areas the CIA tapped as likely to support US intervention are the areas that support Maidan most strongly, and the areas that were deemed to be not conducive to Western invasion rejected Maidan. Right. So yeah, it is a recurring theme of sponsoring or even just creating nationalism out of nothing. You got to bear in mind that at the peak of Ukraine war hysteria in 2022, when there does seem unbelievably to have been a very legitimate belief on the part of Western policymakers that this could be the end of Russia, Congress convened a special hearing on the necessity of sponsoring nationalist breakaway movements in Russia. They wanted to do to Yugoslavia, they wanted to do to Russia what they did to Yugoslavia. And I'll never forget, we're going back about 10 years ago now. I was having a chat with a very close Serb friend of mine who warned me then, before all of this stuff kicked off, they're trying to do to Russia what they did to us. Sanctions, international isolation, demonization. This is what destroyed Yugoslavia and demonized the Serbs to this day.
They failed.
Yeah.
And honest to God, man, we need to fail in this. This is fucking outrageous. No, I'm being serious. If you think of think of all the chaos. Think of all the people that died. And even if you're just talking about Russia and Ukraine, you're talking about 120,000 Russians, maybe 1 million Ukrainians. And it's okay, well, why did they die? Oh, right, because the US decided it wanted to overthrow the government because it wanted to get after Russia in a geopolitical game of expansion. And it just so happens that it puts me in the mind of Israel, right? Where Israel's like, hey, we're hopped up off of killing babies. I bet we can take Iran. And it's like, hey, just to let you know, that's a man. That's not a child. You've been taking out resistance groups. You haven't dealt with a proper country of 80 million people or 90 million people. They're like, yeah, we can do it. Look at all these babies that we killed. And you lose. You get taken apart in a way that is uncommon in a way that you think. It's like, holy shit, we did not expect this much damage. Well, that's the same thing with Russia, right? We can break Russia up into multiple districts. Kalis, that lunatic, came out and said something like that. And you lose. And it's one of those things where you need to lose, because that pattern of let's use narcos in South America to take down governments that we don't like. How many people are you killing? How many lives are you destroying? Not because they're doing anything wrong. It's because you want global primacy. That shit needs to stop. And the only way that stops is if you fail. And frankly, your empire collapses. So I'm brutal about the stuff because I'm sick of seeing this nonsense being put into action over and over and over again, almost as this pattern. Just in this case, it didn't work. In Serbia's case, unfortunately, it did. Kit?
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, there's a wider point to make here as well, which is like you got to bear in mind that like I actually, and I'm not trying to like stand for Trump or any member of his government, but like you got to bear in mind that like the US can step back from this very easily, right? And I think I do think that there are for the most part they want out of this because they understand it's a quagmire.
Zie je deze tanden? Ze zijn uniek en verdienen een unieke manier van poetsen. Poetsen met één enkele klik met Oral-B-IO. Enkel deze ronde borstel, geïnspireerd door tandartsen, past zich aan de tanden aan en poetst grondiger dan gewone handtandenborstels. 100% doeltreffender voor beter beschermd tandvlees. Perfect poetsen begint bij Oral-B.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Who ended up winning? Carney won. Carney won. Is this it, Rob? Can you play this clip?
Is doubling down on his denials of reports that he spoke with President Trump regarding the election.
But the Democratic nominee, Zohran Mamdani, does not believe him and is lashing out at the former governor. Robert Moses joins us now with the very latest on this. Robert.
Kurt and Rosanna, who says the summer is the quiet time leading up to the election? Far from it. With 88 days to go until the election, the candidates are still sparring over that New York Times report claiming that President Donald Trump and former Governor Andrew Cuomo spoke by phone in recent weeks. Cuomo says the president actually prefers State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani and Mayor Eric Adams over him for different reasons, and denies the New York Times reporting.
I can't remember the last time I spoke to President Trump. I've never spoken to him about the mayor's race.
Mamdani doesn't believe that. He accuses Cuomo of, quote, conspiring with President Trump to the detriment.
Pause it. Okay. Well, I don't understand the strategy behind it. I don't understand the strategy behind it. So you think it's a good idea for you to rally the troops?
You're anti everything that the United States stands for. Why don't you just come out and say that?
I don't know.
That's just not the play.
I don't know if that's the right play, especially after, like, you got so many easy things to go after. That was great, by the way. And that got tens of millions of views just on X, let alone how many views it got of people talking about it on podcasts. Here's another story that came out with Mamdani, is the fact that he hired private security after calling to defund the police. Adam, not defend the police. He called to defund the police.
Totally different opposites.
Totally different opposites. Rob, I don't know if you got a clip on that, Rob, or not.
I do. This is the actual clip from 2020 where he made the claim to defund the police.
That's the security he hired?
No. Yes, that's who it is.
Seriously, Rob, that's a security?
Look at that guy right there.
No, play the clip. There's no way that's a security.
Are you for defunding the police? Are you for serious reform that people can see on the ground?
I am in favor of defunding the police.
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
Yes. What that means is that right now in New York City, we have a budget of close to $6 billion for the New York City Police Department. Mm-hmm. And that is an astronomical figure.
Wow.
And I think that what we need to do is not chip away $1 million or $5 million. I think in this first year, we need to take $1 billion out of that budget. Okay.
So he said that. Now, he openly, the Mamdani spent $33,495 in June and July on advanced security and investigations, making 3 payments ranging from $8,000 to $13,000, despite his 2020 statements like queer liberation means defunding the police. The company advertises itself as a proud employer of cops in the New York Police Department, which Mamdani has personally called to defund following a Manhattan shooting where an off-duty NYPD police officer was murdered. Mamdani faced backlash for his anti-cop stance on X. I'm heartbroken. And, we've read that tweet before. But there's many opportunities to go up against this after he had a massive wedding. I just think, I don't know who is Cuomo's campaign manager and who he's talking to about strategy. I don't know. I hope it's somebody that isn't the same as usual, because you're not going in a typical, traditional, same old campaign as you have in the past. This is a case study nobody can give you advice on. I don't know if that makes sense. Nobody can give you advice on this case study.
There's nothing off the shelf.
There's never been a time that you can go and look at a campaign like the one today, where Trump's at, where Mamdani's at, where America's at, where New York is at. There's never been, and where you are at. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm taking counsel from the typical guys that are, let me tell you, here's what James Carville, let me tell you what I'm going to. I think this is a very, very different. It's a mistake to take advice from anybody on politics right now that's above 60 years old on this campaign. My opinion, Vinny.
I mean, well, first off, I think Adam's right. And if I had to bet, if somebody gave me $100,000 and said, you have to bet this who you're betting on, Mamdani's going to win. And good. I want New Yorkers to feel and see what the hell you want it. Like, it's, by the way, he's not hiding. He's letting you know, defund the police. He's pro-Islamic, whatever the hell he's doing. He was talking about, he said something along the lines of, he argued that suicide bombers need to be understood as a political category.
His father said that.
His father?
His father said that,
okay.
not him.
So thank you for clarifying.
Who's a professor?
Mamdani's father said that.
Father, my bad. So that's what you're dealing with, and that's what you want. You're going to get what you want. And you made a great point. I don't want to give away anything, Pat, what you recently said. In 4 years, when we come back, because the elections when? Is it April?
No,
November. Watch what's going to happen to them. But in fairness for the people.
I said that to all the guys at Jubilee.
I don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
You said that. And here's at the end of the day, I think I mentioned this once too. Look at the pool of people. They have Eric Adams, okay? Andrew Cuomo, with all due respect, what he did during COVID, there's no coming back from that. What he did with all the old people and all the deaths, nobody's going to forget that. So you have Eric Adams, you have him. This is their best choice, is a freaking communist, okay? So good. And the people that are backing him, the people that they're interviewing in the man on the street, they think he's the savior. Oh, he's going to, no police. You know what that means? With the amount of crime in New York, you know what that means, Adam? That they're not going to have cops. They're going to have social workers. When you get stabbed, a social worker is going to come up to you and be like, to the stabber, hey, how do you feel? What's making you stab that guy? Why are you stabbing him? How what's it like at home? They are doomed. I'm telling you right now, it's the modern day Gotham City, and I don't feel bad for them. You keep voting for these people, good for you. This coming from a New Yorker.
Amen. There's two angles there. The first angle is the one that Pat asked. And I think that Cuomo needs to be talking to the core independents that are in Portland, Oregon. Remember, they defunded the police. They had that little zone that was downtown. I don't remember the name of it. They gave it a name. It was the zone that was downtown.
Oh, Chaz?
Yeah, or whatever it was. Exactly.
Chaz.
And guess what? Now they've come back, and the people of Portland, Oregon are like, this defund the police thing didn't work. We want, and it's ridiculous, the percentages you see in polls of people that want them to please fund the police in Portland, Oregon. I think it was a poll that was done that we covered on the podcast about 3 weeks ago. It was over 65%, over 2/3 of all voters were like, yeah, a few cops around here would be helpful, come in handy. Real cool. So I believe that they need to be talking to Cuomo's campaign. I agree, Pat. Nobody over 60 that's the usual suspect. They got to go get to some people that are running these successful campaigns back against it in places like Portland and bring it back. And George Will, our friend George Will, was on Bill Maher, and he sums it up at the end.
Great. Go for it, Rob.
Was about to get started, and one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both. That's socialism.
And by the way, what George Will said here, I think yesterday or on Friday, I don't know when this was. He said, I hope they win.
Yes.
I want him to win because every 20 years we need a conspicuous, confined experience with social media so we can crack it up again. I am so on the same page with this one. I can't wait to see that happen. But there's a part of me that doesn't want to. There's the other part of me that wants a case study.
Of course. Well, those of you that don't know George Will, I think he was one of the first people that got you kind of into the political game. He was a very smart guy. And definitely made his way in the world. Regarding New York City and the potential mayor, Zoran Mamdani, people think that this is sort of a bug. I can't believe that they're going to vote for this communist, this socialist. I can't believe it. What people don't understand is this is not a bug. This is a feature. The people of New York City are voting for him because he's a communist, because he's an Islamist, because he's a socialist. That is the reason that they're voting for him. This whole social experiment that we're doing, where the taxpayers will have to pay for all this. Here's a guy who's basically the anti-Zoran Mamdani explaining how it works. You got this, Rob?
Zoran is going to pay for free childcare, free buses, when he's going to step into office on the first day and he's going to realize actually the mayor doesn't have any power to raise money on the rich, and that was his plan to pay for all this crap to begin with. I'll tell you how he's going to pay for it. He's going to pay for it by raising property taxes, raising other taxes in any way that he can. The thing you got to understand is I'm from South Richmond Hill. People in the outer boroughs over there, they don't have these big fancy corporate tech jobs. They're not celebrities with fat salaries. The way they make their money is they own maybe a deli across the street, or they own a spice shop, or they work there. And those people are the ones that are going to absorb these higher taxes that he's going to use to generate income for his ill-conceived ideas that won't even...
Je me demande combien vaut notre voiture.
Vendezvotrevoiture.be peut vous le dire. Vendez votre voiture facilement et rapidement. Saisissez simplement les détails de votre voiture et obtenez son prix de vente. Et vous la vendez dans une agence. Obtenez le meilleur prix maintenant sur vendezvotrevoiture.be.
09, 16 years ago, when I heard him give a speech. And from that moment on, I'm like, man, this makes it. Lawyers are ruining America. He talked about stories about all this stuff. And I came back, I gave a 90-minute talk the following day, Saturday morning. And it was, this was Claremont Institute event with Larry Arnn. I think Pat Boone was at my table. I met John Voight. I met a bunch of guys.
This is
Fred
right
Reba,
around,
all these guys.
This is right around the time you started PHP, no?
This is right before I started PHP.
Correct. Wow.
A part of this meeting was why I started PHP. Believe it or not.
Thank you, George Will.
Yeah, this is the day it happened. But let me tell you this, folks, pay attention to this. Only in New York City and California to come up with ideas like this. New York City wants to spend $65 million on homeless shelter for transgender people. Do you hear what I just said? $65 million just for transgender people, as if there's like so many of them. Overnight, apparently there's like a massive increase of people that are transgender. So New York City opens Aces Place Homeless Shelter in Long Island City, the nation's first city-funded shelter exclusively for transgender identifying individuals, costing taxpayers $65 million over 5 years to provide 150 beds. That's it. You ready for this? Equating to $87,000 per bed annually through 2030. Sean Ebony Coleman, CEO of Destination Tomorrow, Bronx-based LGBTQ center running the facility, said the shelter is named after his mother, whose nickname was Ace. Department of Social Services Commissioner Molly Wassow said Ace's Place will offer transgender New Yorkers a safe place to heal and stabilize in trauma-informed settings with the support of staff who are deeply invested in their growth and well-being, Park told everybody else. And then the shelter operation Destination Tomorrow includes a full-time psychiatric nurse, social workers, and holistic mental wellness programs like yoga, meditation, plans for culinary programs offering hands-on kitchen experiences. I would not be eating that food. But when you read a story like this, okay, with what's going on in New York City, and you wonder why people are leaving New York City, because they're sitting there saying, my taxpayer money is going to this? Yes. So all this tax I pay in New York, you're spending it for this? Yes. Now imagine if Mamdani wins, New York. If Mamdani wins and the 123 billionaires, say half of them leave, say 60 of the 123 billionaires leave, and they go to where? Palm Beach, Miami, Manalapan, Lantana, someplace, Brentwood, Tennessee. They pick a place to go anywhere but New York. They go. This is the most important question you got to ask yourself. You ready? This is by far the most important question you got to ask yourself. Rob, can you play the clip of Elizabeth Warren? This is by far the most important question New Yorkers got to ask themselves. Just go to my X account and you'll see it, Rob, all the way. It's like 5 clips down. There's a clip of Elizabeth Warren with CNBC. They're having a conversation and she gets challenged on the billionaire stuff. And watch what she says about billionaires. And Rob, you can probably fast forward the stuff that he's saying at the beginning. Go until she comes up. Okay, right there. Start it from the moment she starts talking. Go back a little bit and start it from right there. Go ahead.
And doing that by raising the most revenue as possible without chasing businesses and the high income taxpayers out of the city, because they can go to Austin, they can go to Dallas, they can go to Atlanta, they can go to Nashville. This is your issue. It's a national issue, not a local issue.
The issue is affordability.
Watch
Do you know
this.
how many working families are
Folks,
chased out of New York
this
City
is the most
every day
important thing.
because
Listen.
they can't afford housing, they
Yep.
can't afford groceries,
Yep.
they can't afford child
And it's the
care.
billionaires' fault.
What Zoran is saying is,
Yeah.
I want people to be able to afford to live in New
Right.
York City. That's what keeps it a vibrant
Right.
city. That's what makes people want to live
Nobody
here.
disagrees
Watch
with that,
her
Senator,
reaction.
but raising taxes in order to do it,
Oh,
Why
my
is that
goodness.
the answer?
Oh, dear. Are you worried that billionaires are going to go hungry?
No, I'm worried that they're going to leave and spend their money elsewhere.
You know, they've threatened to do that over and over.
And they
over.
have done that.
They've left.
But here's the thing.
And Goldman Sachs, when they create new jobs, they do it in Dallas. And Blackstone won't build a new headquarters. They go on and on.
You want to have a workable city. You want to have a city that's vibrant. You want to have a city where the streets are full, where there are things for sale 24 hours a day. Then you need people who can live here and work.
Well, we
here.
got that right now,
Not
by the
people
way.
who
I
have
would
to
point
take
out
an
New
hour
York
and a
is
half
is thriving. So
Well,
now it's doing pretty well, actually.
I'm glad you think they're doing well because a lot of people are struggling to pay for housing.
You can pause that right there, Rob.
Rob.
So check this out, folks. Here's the question you got to ask yourself. Vinny, I'm going to ask you this as well. I know you're a math guy, so I'm going to come to you probably for
Let
this.
me get my pen ready.
So check this out. Check this out. Do you think if these 60 billionaires leave, Rob, can you put a number and ask Grok or ChatGPT if half of the 123 billionaires of New York City leave and move to Florida, how much tax revenue will New York City lose?
Good question.
Okay. How much tax revenue will New York City lose? And I don't even know if that's the number, because if the 123 billionaires leave, imagine how many people worth 100 million will leave, and imagine how many decamillionaires will leave. Look at that. The 123 billionaires in New York are estimated net worth $759 billion. The top 1% of New York City pays 48% of city's taxes, up from 40%. Used to be 40 and 29.
Allez, allez, allez. Ouais, ouais. Head and Shoulders, je savais pas que t'avais des pellicules.
J'en ai pas. Le nouveau Head & Shoulders élimine les pellicules et le sébum et offre 2 fois plus d'ingrédients protecteurs pour prévenir la réapparition des pellicules. Head & Shoulders, jusqu'à 100% des pellicules éliminées.
Moving. Goldman Sachs estimated that similar out-immigration has led to a 3% drop in tax revenue in the city, but we're not even talking about that time. We're talking about now. Given New York City's extensive budget, even a 1 to 2% drop-off could equal 700 over even a few $1 billion. Here's a question I got to everybody in New York City that's excited about Mamdani. All the socialists, all the Democrats, all the liberals. You ready? Say the billionaires leave. Say they leave. Say you lose billions of dollars of tax revenue. Do you think the government's going to adjust the expenditure they have in the city because they lost all that tax revenue? Hell no.
No.
They're not lowering any of the expenditure. Guess what they're doing with all that spending? They're still spending, but guess who's paying for it? You. Low, middle-income families. You know why? Because now jobs are not there. And now your city's spending $65 million of your money on 150 transgenders.
Jeez.
Let me say this one more time. The city's spending $65 million of taxpayers' money in New York City on only 150 transgenders. That's the amount of beds that they're creating. $87,000 per bed is what they're spending. So the reality of it is, you guys can get excited about this. You guys can get excited about all this stuff. These people, when they leave, which they will, many of them did, it cost $14 billion of adjusted gross income. Meanwhile, taxes went up on the top 1%, 20% from 40% to 48%. You don't think there's other places that are, you don't think Florida's going to be knocking on the door saying, hey guys, we'd be more than happy to have you in Palm Beach. You don't think they're talking to Ken Griffin? You don't think they're talking to all the other people? How do you like Florida? 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 They're saying, I freaking love Florida. Really? Yeah, what do you love about it? I love Florida. I love Florida. I love Florida. I love Tennessee. I love Texas. You're losing them. And the Goldman Sachs headquarters that they're building in Dallas is going to be a monstrosity. And they're slowly moving everybody out of
Huge.
Slowly. Adam, thoughts?
Well, people think that whatever has worked in the past, as far as what has made America great, New York City, LA, as examples, are always going to be the greatest cities in America. What we've seen since COVID and what we'll continue to see as socialism and wokeism take place in certain of these cities is they won't be great forever. You know, Trump says, make America great again. Those cities are going to basically use those catchphrases in the next 5, 10, 20 years because those cities are crumbling. Everyone I talk to in LA, it's like, LA just ain't it anymore, dude. I'm moving out of New York City. How much tax revenue left during COVID? I think $20 billion. That will continue to happen. Here's what I've learned when I don't know how much we're able to talk about it, but when you were debating those socialists and communists in LA over the weekend,
a lot of them were openly saying I'm a communist.
Openly.
Yeah.
Here's what I've learned. They're not idiots. they're not stupid. They're actually very smart, but their energy is funneled into the wrong ideas. And when you have very smart people focused on very dumb things, very bad things will happen. Here's what I realized. This socialism stuff, the free stuff, it's just basically a sugar high. It's having dessert for dinner. It's great. I want to eat. But what's going to happen is your stomach's going to feel bad. Your teeth are going to decay. And basically you're going to have to live in a dentist's office. Capitalism is the exact opposite. It's eating healthy. It's being disciplined. It's eating your vegetables. It sucks now, but damn, a couple months, year down the road, you're going to be looking great. You have a six pack. The reality is the sugar high people are winning, and the capitalists are basically going to move out of town. In New York City, the trans people are the good guys and the billionaires are the bad guys. Grapple with that.
And question, has it ever worked in the history
of
communism?
No, they just haven't done it right, Vinny.
Oh, that's what it is.
They just haven't killed enough people that get it done.
And just really quick, be honest, what did California look like when we were there? Just the area where we shot. Be honest. What did?
By the way, that was not a safe place where we shot the whole thing.
Not at all. Downtown LA, because we were on the bus. Rob, you saw it. What's that? The shade open. I looked outside and I was like, "There's
homeless people, crackhead, homeless."
And by the way, somebody. There was a Mexican family selling they had a food stand. There's just a homeless guy laying there in his underwear, and they're acting as if he's not even there, like it's normal. I'm telling you. New York, as bad as it is now, just wait, and it's going to be all your fault because you're like a guy that smiles and wants to give you free shit.
You're missing one major component.
What?
The weather, bro.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Come on.
Let me get to this next story. Next story I want to get to is the following. And while we're talking about California and New York, Florida Attorney General proposes legislation to stop sexual predators and pursuing surrogacy, adoption, and foster care. Okay? So let me read the story to you, Rob. Is it a video?
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
This is Attorney General James Uthmeyer. By now, you know my goal is to make Florida the safest state to raise a family. As a father of 3 little ones, my wife Jean and I know that there is no greater blessing from God than to have children. There's also no greater responsibility than to bring up good citizens. I know there are many couples out there that are unable to have kids. And many are turning to technology and various resources in the hopes of aiding their quest for parenthood, surrogacy being one of these options. That said, in Florida, we have a responsibility as leaders to protect.
Qu'est-ce qui fait véritablement l'attrait d'un appareil électroménager? Un espace optimal pour conserver vos aliments, le cycle du soleil pour préserver les vitamines, un fonctionnement silencieux et une classe d'efficacité énergique A. Des électroménagers fiables conçus pour plaire dans le souci du détail. That's a big state of mind.
Newborn. In other states, we've seen situations where parents have obtained children through surrogacy or adoption only to then subject them to repeated sexual abuse.
You can
this
pause that,
cannot
Okay, so do you see the sensible ideas to protect kids and families? Do you see that? Do you see the sensible, complete opposite of trying to protect transgenders in New York with your taxpayer money? That's the difference. If you have a family and you got kids, and this is the story I was talking about. Oh, you found it. Yes. This is 2 weeks ago. Bizarre discovery of 21 children in LA. Home raises questions about lack of regulations for surrogacy. What? Let me read the story and I'll come to this one, Rob, if you can keep this one up, because they kind of go together. So you heard what story he talked about, right? Highlighting what is going on here. The removal of 21 children from the custody of LA area couple has put a spotlight on the practice of using surrogacy to build a family. Surrogacy has no federal regulation, leaving it up to the states to set the rules if they choose to allow. What? The kids 15 at the couple's mansion and 6 more living elsewhere were taken by an LA County Child Welfare Agency in May after the parents were accused of failing to intervene in the abuse of a baby by a nanny. Police in Arcadia said the children range in age from 2 months to 13 years old, with most between 1 and 3. Police said the FBI won't comment, but agents are investigating Sylvia Zhang, 38, and Gyurjon Wan, 65, Swan, have not responded to emails seeking comment. Police believe Zhang gave birth to 1 or 2 of the children while the rest were born by surrogates. Some women who were paid surrogate for the couple now say they were unaware that the couple was accumulating a supersized family, raising questions about their intentions. What were they going to do with these children? Asked the lawyer in San Francisco. So, Tom, your thoughts. Florida versus LA madness.
Well, the Florida attorney.
Actually, I'm sorry. Let me go to Vinny first. Go ahead, Vinny.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, Tommy, but I think, and I'm pretty sure Tom's going to agree, this should be a federal law yesterday. Okay, remember last week we talked about that gay couple that adopted the baby? One of the fathers was, well, Brandon Keith Riley Mitchell was convicted of child porn, sexual abuse of a minor. Pay attention to what he was in trouble for. Endangering the welfare of children and corruption of minors. Okay, and I did some research, and guess what, Tom? They still have that baby who is a boy, remind you, in their home, okay? Which to me, that's criminal negligence by the system. The child isn't their blood, so that means there's zero natural protection. We're talking about a predator. Think about this, guys. A predator is alone with the baby. He's changing him, he's bathing him, and he's tucking him in at night, all right? And it's just one day, the stranger baby, because it's a stranger, is going to grow up and become the same age as the people that this guy freaking abused and sexually assaulted. Okay, and we shouldn't be waiting for the headline of what went wrong. We know what the hell is wrong. It's the system at this point is just as much to blame as a freaking predator. Why is this even an issue, Pat? This should be not just a Florida thing, the whole freaking nation. And you should see how much flack I got online, meaning people messaging me, gay people like, how dare you? You're homophobic. You're blah, 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 blah. Bring that shit on. No gay couple should have, especially one that was in trouble for, I'll say it again. Let me say it one more time. What was he in trouble for? Child porn, sexual abuse of a minor, and endangering the welfare of children. And you guys think that guy should have a freaking boy, a baby in his house where kissing him and he's changing him. Get the hell out of here with that noise. Keep coming at me. Go ahead, Tom.
There's laws in the United States. When there is a live birth, there has to be a birth certificate. And that birth certificate is your path to a social security number and path to recognized citizenship. So let's just look at the legal stuff. And I'm just as emotional as you are about the fact that there's uncorrected things going on out there with sexual predators. When a surrogate has a child, the birth certificate first recognizes who is the legal individual that had that baby. This is the mom. She can decline to state the father, or I don't know, or I don't recall, or, you know, there's another bizarre things that she can say. Then they have to go to court and say, it's called the post-birth order, where you go to court and you basically adopt the child on the birth certificate, and they say this is a surrogate adoption we're doing, and they don't call it adoption, it's surrogacy. And then the court order, like Florida's Department of Vital Statistics, has to, under a court order, then change the names on the birth certificate. So now that these are the legal parents. Now the name of the surrogate is removed and sealed. So that's how these kids that grow up have to go through all this stuff to somehow find out who their birth mom was, if they were so interested. So you have a process to review surrogates, and it's a failure of the system, Benny. It's a failure of the system. If you're on parole, you can't buy a gun.
Yes.
And if you go in and you buy a gun because the background check, miss something, that's a failure of the system. Likewise, if you're a sexual predator, what the Florida Attorney General is saying, hey, in Florida, we're going to check and double check. And if you're a sexual predator, when you go in to get the post-birth order to adopt the child who's been born to the surrogate, where you have the legal birth certificate, because you got to have that, guess what? We're going to put the hammer down and say no. And I think the Florida Attorney General is doing something very sensible. Meanwhile, in California,
I don't think anything weird is going on here. Okay, I think the chance of that being the case here is 10 or 20%. I'm actually not going to they did something. But the fact that we have no federal laws for surrogacy, and it's by state, and it allows for some person who wanted to abuse a child, they can go to a state that's got lenient surrogacy law. So, Rob, can you pull up which states in America have the most lenient surrogacy laws? Which states have the most lenient and the most, what's the opposite of lenient? Strict. Lenient and strict surrogacy laws. Yeah, let's see in America, in the United States. Yeah, perfect. I'm curious because to me, that's more my concern. My concern isn't what they did. They could have been very innocent, and it led to something else. Okay, most lenient states. California, leader in surrogacy, permits commercial surrogacy and routinely grants pre-birth parentage. Okay, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, D.C., New Hampshire, Maryland, Oregon, Washington, Illinois, Rhode Island, Vermont, all considered surrogacy. Michigan recently updated its April 25-year parentage, transitioning from restrictive to progressive by legally recognizing surrogacy arrangements, as well as New York. Now, most ambiguous, restrictive or ambiguous are what? Louisiana only allows altruistic, just from surrogacy, a married heterosexual couple using their own. Nebraska compensated surrogacy is not considered legal here, making any paid arrangements effectively unbanned. And Arizona, surrogacy contracts are expressly prohibited through at least, where it goes to heterosexual couples. Okay, fine. I get that. Go a little bit lower. Is there anything else? Strict as are Louisiana, Nebraska, Arizona. Yeah. I think the fact that we're bringing this up is to bring awareness for people to be paying attention to it. It's a very open. If you're somebody that's dirty and you want to abuse the law, you got a few states you can go to handle that. Okay. If all of a sudden a gay couple wants to go get 10 kids, is there limitations on that in some of these states? I don't know. There's too many opportunities for abuse.
And just really, really fast. And I have to say this again. The Brandon Keith Riley Mitchell guy, they still have that baby. He is a convicted freaking child abusing freaking. Yes. He was convicted of Rock. Fact check me. Brandon Keith Riley Mitchell was convicted of child porn, sexual
till today. So he was never let go, and he was never innocent. He was convicted.
Am I right? Right? He's a registered sex offender.
A registered sex offender.
And then Pat, how is that kid still in their house?
I mean, that's Michigan.
Oh my God! Yeah. Like there's oh my God! Like I don't understand.
So
can I weigh in on this?
Adam, go ahead.
Sure. Well, we're looking at Exhibit A of why Donald Trump won the presidency. It's just common sense at this point. The reason that you're freaking out here is because there's cities and states around the country who are not practicing common sense. All Trump had to do was expose the crazy. What Trump did was say, I prioritize citizens over illegal immigrants. I know the difference between a man and a woman. I love America. You hate America. And I have morals and values that align with the average American. On Bill Maher this past weekend, did you see who was on? It was our friend Stephen A. Smith and Dr. Phil. And they argued about whether the 10 Commandments should be in school. And Stephen A. Smith and Dr. Phil were on the side of, I think there should be a little introduction of morals and values and principles, whereas Bill Maher, who does not believe in God, was basically saying, why do we even need that? The 10 Commandments is all BS. But that is leading to the degradation of society. Now, I believe in the separation of church and state. To what extent, though? Judeo-Christian values, the 10 Commandments is what this country was founded on, right? But we've seen, I don't know if you have that chart from the Wall Street Journal that I sent you, the decline in all these values that America was basically founded on. The decline of religion, the decline of patriotism, which very much bothers me, the decline of having children, and community involvement. Americans pull back from the values that once defined us. That's what's going on here. So my prediction is this pendulum will swing one direction into the other, and it'll be 10, 20 years before LA and New York City and some of these psychopathic woke agenda have to reckon with the reality.
Tom, and then I'm going to the next story. Tom.
Yeah, the question from Pat was national laws and national precedent. And when Roe v. Wade, that was a national law that was governing abortion. And then Obergefell versus Hodges, that was a national case in 2015 that legalized same-sex marriage for all 50 states. And of course, remember, that was Kennedy, Sotomayor, Kagan, Ginsburg, and Breyer, the liberal five at the time. That won't happen now. But to Pat's point, if we're going to have Roe v. Wade on a national level, and we're going to have Obergefell versus Hodges, John Roberts dissented, and that gives us same-sex marriage on a national basis, why shouldn't we have national laws governing, surrogacy for continuity's sake? Because you're talking about citizens, you're talking about protecting those citizens. So I agree with Pat. There should be national laws, and the precedent is there at the Supreme Court in so many ways.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the next story. Jimmy Kimmel admits repulsive liberal scolds are driving people away from the Democratic Party. He admits, and here's what he had to say. And he's on the podcast with Sarah Silverman, right? That's the other girl. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
it's the loud voices that scare people from saying what they believe and make you think twice about a joke or whatever, these things. And, a lot of their points are valid, but a lot of them are also just repulsive. And I mean, they repel people from, they go like, oh, you're no fun. I don't want to be around you. And I think that if you had to boil it down to like one thing, that's kind of what it is. It's like, oh, you're no fun. I don't want to be part of your group.
Yeah. It's funny. First of all, Sarah Silverman needs a better audio person that's working for her.
How horrible was that?
Yeah, that was pretty pathetic. Maybe she needs to manette a couple of our guys here. But I would tell you this when I'm hearing that. I responded back to Kimmel, and this is what I had to say. I have no problem with Kimmel having opinions about any of these things. But here's what I said. I said some unsolicited advice for you. If you wanted to be a pundit, go to CNN or MSNBC and share your opinions. But your job as a late night host is to entertain Americans who are burned out with divisive politics. You failed miserably. People don't have a problem with Jimmy Kimmel's opinions. People don't have a problem with Stephen Colbert's opinions. They have a problem that your job wasn't that. And that's why you failed miserably. You failed. I watch Jay Leno. I found a picture the other day of me going to a Jay Leno show, and luckily I was able to get in because they thought I was 16 while I was only 14 years old. And I took a picture with the guy. And, they said, who's here? We screamed out, we came here from Vancouver. We have no clue where Vancouver is. We went up on the stage, and we took a picture with Jay Leno. We're like, oh, my God, we met Jay Leno. It was so funny. We were one of those guys that would go stand in line to listen to Leno. Maybe I got to bring the pictures next time to show it to you. What's the point here? Their job is to entertain. Their job is to make us laugh. Their job is to make us sit there and be like, oh, my God, that's so funny. That's hilarious. That's good. And all of a sudden, if you don't take the vaccine, if you don't do this, if you vote for Trump, if you do that, you know what? Just go work at MSNBC and work with Maddow. Just go to CNN. It's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But your job wasn't that, Jimmy. Neither one of you. Your job wasn't that, Colbert. That wasn't your job. Tom, your thoughts on this whole thing with Jimmy Kimmel?
Well, Jimmy, you bought into it. You made it your own, but you got used, buddy. You are responsible for who you are and who you became and what you did, but you got used because the whole ABC network was 100% behind Kamala, 100% anti-Trump in 2016, and you bought into it and you guided that. If you had held a little bit of your independence, buddy, you could have been a different guy. But look at all of them that became bitter. Kimmel, so bitter. Colbert became so bitter. And he had the dancing COVID things. My gosh, you're a propaganda machine for the government that's now been widely discredited. I just think it's so ironic, and Rosie O'Donnell too this past weekend. It's so ironic that everybody now is saying, wow, it's not the party, it's the loud voices that scare people. You were one of the loud voices. What are you talking about? You were a loud voice that was on a prime network in that late night zone where people were watching. Not very many now, but at the time there was initially. And now you're like out there saying these things. Dude, you did it to yourself. You didn't have enough spine. At a point where you had audience, you could have had a little bit of spine, but you went with it. You made it your own. You became bitter like Colbert. And now you sit and you say, oh, it's the loud voices. You were one, dude. It's your fault.
And by the way, him and Sarah Silverman apparently used to date.
They dated,
for like 7 years. Adam, your thoughts on this?
Well, it's almost like people forgot what the hell their job was. A journalist's job was to report the news. They turned into an activist. An actor's job was to do movies and do shows. They turned into activists. Entertainers, make us laugh. Comedians, entertain us, make us laugh. Activists. Musicians, play music, things we enjoy. Activists. It's almost like all these people forgot what the purpose of their job was, and they became political lecturers. And half the country was like, dude, I'm done with you. Yeah. Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, Howard Stern. And what happens is we're going to see one by one, bing, 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 bing. Stephen Colbert gets canceled. Howard Stern's going to be off the air. Jimmy Kimmel, you're next, buddy. And we'll see who the next man up. Vinny. This country is coming back to normalcy.
And I mean, Adam, great points. Tom, and I'm going to piggyback. And I think these guys, especially somebody like him, they sold their soul. Like Jimmy, honestly, Kimmel used to be on the opposite. He was on the Man Show. disgusting, perverted, that whole, you want to talk about MAGA? That in their sense, you were that guy.
That was the good stuff back in the day.
By the way, racial comedy.
Blackface. Come on, let's bring that back, Jimmy.
But listen, when you sell your soul and you're a shill for the other side, you can get away with everything and anything. Notice if it was anybody else from the other side, all that stuff would have surfaced. He made fun of Oprah. He literally was black body. The hell with just face when he did, was it Karl Malone? He did Karl Malone, right? Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't Shaq. It was Karl Malone.
Yeah, no, it was Karl Malone.
And that's the thing. And you made
one
a great,
of the greatest rebounders of all time.
And then on top of that, I mean, he works for ABC. Who do you think runs ABC? Those are those people that were pushing that nonsense. And listen, he has to do it, guys. You sign the contract. You sell your soul. He has to. Remember what he said about people with not taking the vaccine? He said, if you go to the hospital, he said, next, but go like die, Wheezy.
Yeah.
He basically said to die.
Let me have a 30 seconds with Vinny real quick.
Yeah.
When they sell their soul,
yeah,
what do they get in return?
Not a damn thing.
What do you mean?
They get fame. He gets fame and money. He gets fame and money.
Get money.
Yeah, but he's never going to get that back. You're done.
No. I'm going to tell you a quick story.
For
We were in LA.
Yes.
The last night there, I snuck off like an outdoor cat and went to a little house party. I will not say the name of the influencer whose house it was because he was an awesome guy. And I don't want to put him out there, but the house was incredible. I walk in, hey, how you doing? There's 20, 25 people there. It's not a big thing.
Goats.
And our old friend there, the boxer, I won't say his name, was there. I walk in and greeted very nicely. Hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. I walk in and it's the exact opposite type of conversation that I was expecting. The argument was amongst people, black, white, this, that, who should be able to use the N-word? I was like, they go, hey, we got a famous podcaster here. Walk in. What do you think? I'm like, I ain't getting involved in this conversation. The owner of the house is sitting there. And I say to him almost jokingly, like, you might want to leave for this conversation. You don't want to get canceled. He goes, you know what? I'm out. Goes upstairs. He goes, I got way too many brand deals on the table. I got way too much going on to get caught up in this nonsense. What's my point? He just left the room. He didn't have to say anything. But a lot of times people sell their soul for money, for fame, for this, for that. It's a wild world out there. And people like Jimmy Kimmel, basically, they do not want to lose their money.
Was there no adrenochrome? Does anybody have adrenochrome?
Adam just wanted to tell us that he partied in LA and he knows people.
Doing shots of adrenochrome.
Let me get to the next story here. I'm going to get to the next story here. J.D. Vance wants answers over Epstein files. Rob, if you have that clip. So J.D. Vance did an interview this past weekend with Maria Bartiromo. And when she was asked about Epstein, this is what he had to say.
Said very clearly, because we've had other meetings about that, is that he wants us to be fully transparent and he wants the credible information out there. So we're working to compile the thousands and thousands of documents that are out.
30 seconds before this, she asked, did you guys have a meeting just about Epstein just yesterday at the White House or something? We did have a meeting, but it wasn't about Epstein. And if we did have a meeting and if we had, but we had a meeting in the past, so she was trying to push him because there's rumors that there was a meeting about Epstein. This is literally 30 seconds after that. Go ahead.
For full transparency. But I have to say, Maria, I laugh at the Democrats who are now all of a sudden so interested in the Epstein files. For 4 years, Joe Biden and the Democrats did absolutely nothing about this story. We know that Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of connections with left-wing politicians and left-wing billionaires. And now President Trump has demanded full transparency from this. And yet somehow the Democrats are attacking him and not the Biden administration, which did nothing for 4 years.
Was it the right move for Comer to send subpoenas to the Clintons?
It absolutely was. And it drives home how, while the Democrats have tried to make this Epstein thing about anything but, the fact that Democrat billionaires and Democrat political leaders went to Epstein Island all the time, who knows what they did, but it's totally reasonable to ask these questions. What you saw in the House's subpoena is they are trying to investigate all of the things related to this particular case. I know a lot of Americans want answers. I certainly want answers.
Rob, I just sent you another clip. By the way, while this is happening, Texas prison camp where Ghislaine Maxwell has moved, steps up security. There's a bunch of different stories that are coming up here, right? But there's Michael Cohen. We showed one about 3-4 weeks ago, if you remember that, when I showed this here. This is a very different way he takes it here. And watch what he has to say. He can totally double down and trash Trump, but he doesn't. Why not? Play the clip.
Don't believe that Donald Trump was on Epstein's island. Why? He said it more than 5-6 times And he says it very openly. Now, Donald Trump says many things openly.
Yeah, I was going to say
this is different.
He doesn't always flirt with the truth.
That's true. But I know Trump, and I know that he's saying it for a purpose. Now, is he in the file? Absolutely. Why? He's in the black book. He took free flights with Epstein down to Palm Beach. If he turns around and says that he was never on the island, rest assured, he's going to use that as the basis for why this whole thing, again, is a witch hunt against him. He'll take the grain of salt and he'll make it into the entire,
right. Absolve himself. So, yeah.
Right.
If
Vinny, thoughts?
Listen, unless something really major happens, this is going to go down for Trump's second term as the biggest scandal. This entire situation, I get what JD Vance has to do, Pat, and say, the talking point is blame the Dems, but the Dems weren't the one promising that all this stuff was going to get released, okay? He didn't have people like Bongino and Cash Patel and everybody promising out the wazoo that this was going to get released, and now the complete BS and lies. And just a FYI, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's convicted of child sex trafficking, okay, on top of conspiring to recruit and groom underage girls and all that stuff, okay? She sat down for 9 hours with Todd Blanche, okay? You guys know who Todd Blanche is?
No,
he's the deputy attorney general now. Guess who he used to be? Donald Trump's personal lawyer. So you sent Donald Trump's old lawyer to go sit down with her, no cameras, no lie detector, just a closed door conversation. And we're supposed to believe that she just said Donald Trump wasn't on there. Okay. Like that. Is anybody even going to take that as truth?
It wasn't about right or wrong. It wasn't about survival. It was about family. And family takes sacrifice.
Crazy could have happened. The guy lived in New York. You live in New York. Okay. God forbid Trump was somewhere and hanging out. All these, what were all the teen model US? What was it? What was the thing that he bought?
Miss America.
Miss America. Who knows who's around, who's young, and then they record you. I don't know. Did he ever hang out at Epstein's house, or was he at a party where Epstein are there and maybe they recorded something?
So you're fully at the place where you're speculating that Trump might be tied to it. You're not saying, well, Michael Cohen's saying that this is another thing that they're using against him as the next witch hunt that they're trying to go after him. You don't believe that. No. You believe there's some credibility to the story?
Pat, because of the way that Trump and the administration and everybody's acting right now, you're acting guilty. You know what I mean? You're acting guilty. All the footage of the thing that they released that has 3 minutes missing. It's like the biggest they botched the whole thing up. Okay, Trump should have just came out initially and said, you know what? Bongino and Cash Patel, they're all full of crap. That's what he should have said. Instead of saying, no, it's the Democrats, just like how they did with Russia collusion. It has no correlation to Russia collusion, okay? And the reason the Dems didn't release anything, PBD, because Bill Clinton is one of the biggest ones. His name is plastered all over it. 26 times on the freaking Lolita Express. And even Kevin Spacey. Do you remember what Kevin Spacey said, Tom, when they were traveling to Africa or whatever? And he goes, they had young girls on the plane and he didn't want nothing to do with it. Obviously, it's Kevin Spacey. He admitted it. He goes, I didn't know who the Jeffrey Epstein was. But yeah, there was young girls on there. And FYI, and this is a fact check me, Rob. Bill Clinton, when he flew on Lolita Express, he didn't have Secret Service on there with him. What does that mean? You don't have Secret Service? Isn't that a breach of protocol, presidential protection? Tom, why wouldn't you want to have them on there? So maybe they could be witnesses later on. Could you fact check that, Rob? If when he was flying, did he have Secret Service not be on the plane? This stinks to high heaven, okay? I just want the truth. By the way, we were promised JFK. What did we find out? CIA was involved. Maybe Israel was involved. No clear evidence. What? Okay. Did you not read any of because JFK wanted to go check if they have nuclear weapons and it
was probably the Mossad. They killed JFK.
Adam, I'm just saying what I'm saying is this is what was all that released.
Yeah, of course.
No definitive answers.
No doubt.
We were promised MLK stuff. Nothing. It's all smoke and mirrors, and we never
Vincent,
get the answer.
Can I ask you a question, my emotional, angry friend?
I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I'm just spitting facts.
You are angry. It says it on your shirt.
But I'm not angry right now. I'm
going to give you two options.
I actually feel great.
Option A, Donald Trump figures out the world, solves all these wars, peace deals, economy, tariffs, everything goes according to plan, shuts down the border, immigration, everything. But you never figure out what happened with Epstein and on Epstein Island, or the world falls apart, everything goes to shit, the tariffs don't work, there's wars, but you find out every single piece of information about Epstein and that black book. Which one do you pick?
Very interesting.
Which one do you pick?
Hold on really fast.
Option A or B?
Hold on really fast. Adam, Trump, tariffs, world, war, Israel, everything. And you find out he was with an underage girl. What do you think? Hold on.
So you're answering the question with the question.
Yeah, because your question is if and what if. No. If you found out that there's footage of the president of the United States sleeping with an underage girl, how do you feel?
How does the rest of the world do?
What do you mean? How
Does the rest of the world just be amazing?
I'm saying, does he get accountability?
Let me answer the question. I would pick option A 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000, and let the theorists conspire of whatever they want.
I'm saying
whatever
it's a
they want to
fact.
figure out Epstein.
It's a fact.
I want signal versus noise. You want the noise,
No,
and
I
that's
don't.
cool.
That's Adam. You
If you
absolutely just
didn't want
dodged
the noise,
entire situation.
No.
Adam, how
Vinny,
many times do I have to say
don't
accountability?
turn this
in front of you?
around. I asked you the question. You dodged it and flipped it on me.
You said a
Answer
maybe. You said a
option A or
maybe.
B.
You said a maybe. I don't want
Just
maybes.
option A or B.
I don't.
Do you want the world to do incredible, but you don't find out about Epstein, or you find out everything about Epstein, but the world falls apart? What do you pick?
If finding
Just
out,
answer
if B, Adam,
question,
the world
dude.
falls apart. I want if B means, and this is where you fail to completely
you could
boggles
just say
your mind.
A or B, but you're
Adam,
keeping the talk.
This is what
Keep
boggles your
talking,
mind.
Keep talking.
This is what boggles your mind.
Go ahead, boggle that mind,
Accountability. How many times do I have to say it? If you've done the deed, you have to pay the price. Plain and simple. I don't care. That's what you fail to understand.
You pick option B, and you want to govern a city or in a world of ashes.
Adam,
because
if the
you
city
found
was
out
built, if the
what
city was
going
built
in
on pedophilia, let it burn.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Adam. That's how you don't think the way that I do. And I still love you.
I'm not
but that's it.
advocating for pedophilia.
Let
I'm
justice
advocating
be
for there's a
done, though the
million
heavens
other
fall.
things
All right.
that are
So-
more important than Epstein.
So,
but this is your number one thing. I get it.
I care about kids getting raped and murdered, Adam. That's my thing.
You just
Sorry.
went totally.
No, I didn't, because that's
left
what we're
field.
talking about.
Over here if you need me, Pat.
Tom.
Tom, by the way, what would you pick? Option A or B?
Right,
Tom, could you help
so
us out? Option A or B?
I'm simply showing what Michael Cohen said. And Michael Cohen is the number one guy that would want to go after him,
Number one Trump hater
that
in the
would
world.
want to destroy
Says
him.
Trump is innocent.
And why is he not doubling down? And he spent more hours with him than any of the guys that are with him on the administration right now, except for a couple people. Okay. And he knows all his dirt. It's your lawyer for 20 plus years that flipped on you. You don't think he talked to the lawyer about, hey, how do we handle Epstein? How do we do this? How do we do that? Why is he not saying anything? I don't know. It's in the weirdest way. Cohen has a lot of credibility, but we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen there with this story. All right. What else do we have before we wrap up? Is there any other story, Rob, that we haven't covered?
Do you want to
before we wrap
discuss
this
the
up?
WNBA or no?
Let me see if I got another story before I go to the WNBA. Tom, is there any other stories you guys got before we go to that?
About the Israel Al Jazeera?
Yeah, let's go to that. Okay, let's go to that.
Let's end on a
So
light.
I'm gonna
light
end, by the way, I'm gonna end on a light video I saw last night that made me laugh that I'm gonna share with you guys. What a funny prank. I think the rest of you guys are gonna enjoy as well. Al Jazeera journalist Anas al-Sharif killed in Israel attack in Gaza City. And so a 28-year-old well-known Arabic correspondent who reported extensively from northern Gaza was killed in what appears to be a targeted Israel attack on a tent for journalists outside the main gate of Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, as confirmed by the hospital director. Al Jazeera media network denounced the attack, stating it was yet another blatant and premeditated attack on press freedom amid the catastrophic consequences of the ongoing Israel assault on Gaza, which has seen the relentless slaughter of civilians, forced starvation, and the obliteration of entire communities. The Israel military admitted targeting al-Sharif, claiming in a statement he served as the head of a terrorist cell in the Hamas terrorist organization and was responsible for advancing rocket attacks against Israel civilians and IDF troops. Tom, your thoughts on the story?
Well, there's a lot of sources that came out overnight. IDF made a post about it on X. You would expect people are going to say, oh, of course the IDF says that he was there. You know, that's their propaganda. But there are other sources that are in here too that maybe they're just repeating the IDF. but there's information, and people appear to be publishing receipts here of databases and things where he had been identified. And by the way, regardless of how you feel about this and journalists in war, which is a different topic, on this particular one, they're pointing out that, in the dirty trick department, Hamas has got quite the resume, and hiding behind civilians, hiding in hospitals, under hospitals, posing as doctors, and posing as media. Hamas does this. And so would it surprise me that this journalist was actually a leader of a minor cell? And when his cover got blown, then people are saying, oh, it's a smear campaign by Israelis. It's a smear campaign. He really was this. Well, maybe his cover got blown. He got outed. And so what I mean, outed as a member of Hamas.
Is that what's that picture, Rob?
Yeah. Well, here's what I was going to say.
Where is he?
He's the guy in the middle.
That doesn't look anything like him. That's the guy? I don't think that doesn't look like the guy to me. The guy that we just saw that Rob showed, that doesn't look like that guy.
No, yes, it does. It's a couple years different.
That's him.
A couple pounds different.
Well, regardless, here's what's happening right now. I just went on Amazon and I just bought a nice little journalist press kit for $19.99. What I've realized is I don't emotionally react to stories that come out, good, bad, or ugly. I wait for the facts to come out. Do I want to see actual journalists reporting actual real news die? Hell no. We report stories here. We know journalists. I do not want anybody dead, innocent journalists whatsoever. But what I've realized is that there's a lot of propaganda and there's a lot of people who are embedded in society here who are honoring the Hamas. This guy right here, after cover, honored to stand with our crowns. So whether it was this journalist or the journalist you're speaking about or any other journalist, this is who they are. I remember a story of a journalist was found in Gaza, and they were like, oh my God, we captured this guy. They went and found his house. 3 hostages were in his house. This was a journalist. So just because you're a journalist doesn't mean you're immune from accountability.
And they weren't being interviewed about the horrors of war.
Rob, can you ask Grok if that's actually him? I'm just curious.
Okay, whether it was him or whether it was his best friend, the reality is this.
Oh, so just kill him if that's his best friend?
Well, here's what I love about Israel at this point. They're not even denying it. They're like, no, we went after this guy. We believed that he was a terrorist, so we took him out. That's clarity to me. I don't want to see innocent people die at all. Unfortunately, it's kill or be killed in the Middle East, and some people just can't understand that. The woke West and the woke right just don't understand. These people are coming to kill you, and it's kill or be killed. I'm sorry. That is what it is. Go for it, Vinny.
Well, what's the thing that you said right before about they said that they did it because they were targeting him
or cosplaying as journalists?
What I'm asking is, did they say that they were targeting him after the fact? Like, oh yeah, we were going after
I don't know. You're
or
the
was it
expert on this,
an accident? No, Adam, I actually read the news. I don't sit in the car and watch the news on the way here. I actually stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning and I actually do my research. And I did a bunch of research.
What'd you find?
And I just found
That
out that
Hamas are nice freedom fighters
the
and they're
good
beautiful
talking point,
humans?
very good talking point.
What'd you find?
I love the fact that when you're just asking questions, I'm either a Hamas supporter or I'm going to be anti-Semitic.
No, but go ahead, make your point.
It's the neither. What I'm saying
I didn't
is
bring up that.
you
just
can't
did.
even. They banned reporters from even being in Gaza. They banned international reporters. How are you supposed to know? Why are you banning them? If you have nothing to hide, let us see
because
what the hell's going
these reporters
on.
work for a company called Al
I'm
Jazeera.
not
Where's
just
Al Jazeera based out of?
But Adam, you don't just bomb
Where's
a tent
Al
with people
Jazeera
next to a
based out of?
hospital and then just go, yeah, he worked for Hamas. And I'm not saying, listen, I don't know the facts, Adam. But what I'm saying is,
Period.
if you're
That's
not
where the
letting,
clip should end
who
right there.
has killed the most? Who has killed the most reporters? Pat, did we do the numbers?
Syria.
Tom, what is that?
Syria did.
Yeah, this is.
Do we have that?
You can search for it. There's a
Israel
lot of
Defense Forces, Tom. That's like
but there's others too. There's another media outlet that was Maya TV or everything, and that may be parroting the IDF thing. But there's people that are out there publishing receipts on this that appear to be receipts. I don't know the validity of it, but you know what? There's a heck of a lot going on here. Look, is this the first? Just do this logically, Vinny. Is this the first reporter to die in an armed engagement over there, to be in the wrong place at the wrong time?
In the wrong place at the wrong time? No. And actually,
so let's assume they're a reporter, not the
Okay.
first. Then why is there so much static on this one?
What do you mean?
That's what I'm asking. Why is there so much fuzz? Like somebody shook up a root
because
beer and opened it.
it only killed 5 reporters. It only killed 5 reporters reporting on what's happening on the ground.
It kind of bothers me that there's so much buzz on this reporter.
No, Tom, it shouldn't be. I don't think it's just about this reporter. I think it's just for the past 2 weeks, all I've been hearing and seeing is.
Are you saying like this is a George Floyd thing they're capitalizing off of?
Yeah, or something. And why is there so much buzz on this guy to say it was so many sources, unless the IDF is just doing the most amazing marketing between Saturday and Sunday, pushing out all these fake receipts and everybody else is pushing them, Pat? That seems weird to me. Why is it so important to say that this reporter
Vinny, I think
was there?
Do you trust Muslims more than Israel? Do you trust the report coming out of Gaza, Palestine, more than reports coming from Israel? I don't think you believe anything Israel says.
I'm not saying I don't believe that. I don't believe anything unless I'm shown the evidence. Okay. And what I've been seeing.
I don't know about that. I think there's also, like, I've never heard you make a pro-Israel argument ever. I've never heard you make a pro-Israel argument. So to me, the reason why I'm going with this is the following. I don't know. So for me, if you came in, notice what I said when we were prepping. I said, is it true that Israel the last 2 years has killed the most journalists? I'm the one that asked that question this morning, pre-getting started. So it's not like I'm coming in on fire, like,
for sure,
because this is what I saw. Let's look at it. And I had Rob pull it up. Then Syria came up, but Syria was since 2011. But the last 2 years was Israel. U.S. was on the list as 3rd place. Top 3 countries were Syria, Israel, and us, right? Okay, great. But I think the part that you lose is when it's no matter what, it's all one side. We're at dinner. This guy's defending Nick Fuentes. I'm like, what is Adam defending Nick Fuentes on? I got more respect for Nick Fuentes than anybody else that's saying stuff that they're saying about Israel, right? You have to be very careful.
More respect for Nick versus Tucker is, I think, what I said.
Right. No, specific that community.
Yes,
It was what? Fuentes, Candace, and Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick has been saying what he's been saying a lot longer than they have been saying it, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. And what was his premise on the respect? Well, he says what he believes in. That's Adam's
He
point,
hasn't
right?
shifted.
Yeah. I think the
Everyone
biggest
else has
thing
shifted.
here is, it's almost become like if a white man is killed by a black man, CNN won't report on it. But if, God forbid, Jussie Smollett, anything George Floyd, oh my God, boom, goes on, right? You have to find a way to, because if I look what's going on right now in Europe, how bad do you think Europe's about to get? Very
Europe
bad.
is going to fall apart.
And you know what's after Europe? We're after
Canada.
Europe. No, they're going to come here surrounding it, and then they're going to try to target here. What is Mamdani doing? What is another guy that I think I was watching his video? This is UK right now. I don't even know if we want to play this clip. I don't even want to play
a lot
this
of
clip.
profanity.
It's just a lot of stuff like this that you can see. But to me, you have to be very careful that you only follow accounts. Like when I wake up in the morning, what account do I go and watch to see what they're saying? I go to CNN because I want to see what counter arguments are being made there. Blind spots. But if you wake up and you just go to a couple things of guys you follow, because that's what you want to hear, because it validates what you believe in, you'll end up having a lot of blind spots. And I don't want us to have blind spots. And that includes myself. I have my own bias as well. So I'm not sitting here telling you I don't have any biases. But if I have to choose between the two, it's not even close to conversation of what's going to be happening. It's not even close. And even yesterday, Trump said that they're going to take over Gaza. I don't know if you saw that happened yesterday. Trump just said, yeah, how are you going to take over Gaza? We're just going to take over Gaza. How are you going to do it? We're just going to take it over. How can you do that? Under what jurisdiction? Under the U.S. jurisdiction. I don't know if you saw that or not. I don't even know what he's doing behind closed doors. We don't even know what things are taking place. But we have to be very careful.
The U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
And Mr. President, take it under what?
Under what's it?
One authority?
Under the U.S.
Yeah.
With so many opinions out there, I mean, if you asked me 10 years ago if I would just trust Trump's instincts, I would say, hell no. At this point, if there's one person who has all the information, whose instincts that I trust, it's one person, and it's Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I didn't feel that way before. I feel that way now. And that's on most issues, if not all. So including the Gaza one.
Yeah, I think you just, it's very, very hard. Like on my Instagram stories, I'm tagged. You know how you go to see what stories you're tagged on? Stories, videos. You don't even know what's going on over here, what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, you're going to only send me one side. None of the videos are easy to watch. And then I get messages from Israel. You don't know what's going on over here. And I got it yesterday. I won't give any names, but, these are people that are in Israel saying, you don't even know what they're doing to the Christians and to this and this. I'm also not fully there. But I have the ability to watch both sides, and I understand why you're sending me the clips to say what, Palestinians are doing to Christians and Jews, and I understand why you would send me the clips to say what Jews are doing to Gaza and Palestinians. You have to find a way to not be emotionally caught up, because then you are a victim of propaganda, and they got you. Hook, line, sinker, you're done. And all you see is that. And I'm seeing, believe it or not, more and more people now kind of stepping away and saying, oh, shit, I got a little bit in too deep here. Let me step back a little bit and see what happened. Neither side is innocent, but this side is definitely not innocent with the history that they have. If they're so great, why isn't nobody else from the other side taking them? You keep coming back more this way. And I get that, the motive of the other side, where they're at, what they're up to. But you have to be very, very careful that you only see and hear and read what you want to see and read that validates your point. Because then you have so many blind spots, so many, and you can't be reasonable. Now you're just fighting to be right. One of the best things about this exercise of sitting with the guys last week, Jubilee. You know what was great about it? To sit and talk to a bunch of 20-year-olds. One guy was probably 45, 50 years. I don't know why he was there. But to sit and talk to all these other guys that are students, it's also to see, okay, that's an interesting argument. Let me go look into that. Like, I myself have things to go look into after the conversation with them to say, why did they say this? What was this? Okay, got it. This one. Well, this got a good point here. One of the guys had a good point that I brought him back at the end to debate it. But I can't just go thinking, I'm going to beat everybody in this. No. Because then you'll never learn. You'll only be one-sided. Can we finish with a laugh?
Yeah.
And then, Rob, can you play this clip here? So let me tell you guys what this clip is. This is a guy, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you got kids, this is not the part for them to hear because there's some profanity. This guy decides to call his friends and tell them sweet dreams. And his friends are like, what?
So good.
Have you seen this?
Not at all.
Yes,
of course.
So
This is
great. That
amazing.
have you seen this, Tom, or no? The fact that you haven't seen this is going to make it even better. Go ahead, Rob.
Yo, what's good, bro? What you got going?
Why was that?
No, I'll just call and tell you good night, bro. Sweet dreams. Hello?
What?
Hello?
Yeah, what do you mean, good night?
I'm about to lay down, bro. I'm about to get in the bed. I just want to call and tell you good night, bro. Sweet dreams.
Nighty night, baby.
Nigga, why are you telling me good night?
I hope you sleep tight, bro.
Nigga, what?
What you mean you want me to sleep nice?
All right, bro. I'm gonna talk to you tomorrow, man. Sweet dreams.
What do you have going? Sweet dreams, nigga. What's going on? Are you good?
Are you good?
Yeah, bro. I can't wish that you sleep good tonight, bro.
Nigga, when in the hell have you ever wished?
All right, bro. I'm gonna sleep tight, so I'm gonna holler at you. All right, bro. All right.
Nighty night, player.
Don't call my phone doing this. You know what? Where's the red button on this? Hold on.
That is so
then he calls another
Look at the
guy.
dog. Look at the dog.
But what a great prank. He calls his other friend.
So
So
good.
what a red button that on this.
By the way, there's multiple of these that
Watch
have gone
this
viral
one,
like
watch
this.
it.
He calls it.
One more. He said, I want to do one more. He's having so much fun with it.
What's good, bro? What you got going on?
I was just on the phone with my boy. Anything I
Yeah, bro. I just want to call and tell you good night, bro. Sweet dreams. Yeah, bro, I'm about to lay it down, bro. I just want to call and tell you good night, bro. I hope you sleep tight tonight.
Yeah, I love you too, money.
You didn't even
It's been so many nights since I've seen you. You haven't called me to say good night, but tonight is the fucking night you want to call me to say good night.
Yeah.
What's happening? You all right?
Yeah, bro. I just hope I hope you have sweet dreams tonight. I'm gonna have sweet dreams, so I hope you do too.
You want to hug, nigga?
You're gonna hang up, Rob. You're gonna hang up.
Oh
Right there.
my
Just
God.
hilarious, man. These
man.
pranks that they pull. That guy had me
Random.
going randomly. Anyway,
Sweet dreams.
guys, do me a favor, Rob. Can you run a quick poll on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday? Okay, we're going with this for a couple of weeks. See what happens between now and the vault. But which do you prefer, Monday, Wednesday, Friday model or Tuesday, Thursday model? Because after today, we're not going to do podcasts tomorrow like we usually do. We're going straight to Wednesday. And if we won't do Thursday, we'll go to Friday. But to run the last poll, I'm curious, guys, if you can comment on it. And aside from that, gang, it's been great spending time with you guys. We will do this again on Wednesday. 9 a.m. Add it to your calendar. We're trying to get started as close to 9 o'clock as possible. Today we went 9:04. And hopefully we'll get Wednesday right off the bat at 9 o'clock sharp. So what are they saying? They are saying Monday, Wednesday,
We'll
Friday.
see.
Still?
Let's
All
let
right,
this
we
play
will
out.
see.
It's
We
gonna
will see
stay
what's
in the
gonna
80s.
happen.
Hey, everybody, sweet
All right,
dreams
sounds
out
good.
there,
God bless
guys.
everybody.
Sweet
Take
dreams.
care.
We love
Bye-bye,
you.
bye-bye.
Good nighty night.
Good night.
Cacher sa douleur musculaire ou articulaire n'est pas une solution. Voltaren Imugel Forte soulage la douleur musculaire et articulaire et réduit l'inflammation avec une seule application toutes les 12 heures. Voltaren Imugel Forte. Bouger redevient un plaisir.
Bonjour David Bavrez. Bonjour. Merci d'être avec nous. On vous attrape entre deux avions. Hein. C'est vrai que c'est pas évident. Enfin, vous voyagez beaucoup. Plaisir. Et vous êtes très occupé. Alors, ça nous fait plaisir de vous avoir au cœur de l'été sur le plateau de BFM Business. Je rappelle que vous êtes investisseur, David, installé à Hong Kong depuis 2011 maintenant. Hein. Vous êtes au pouvoir depuis plus longtemps que Xi Jinping. Hein.
Alors, je ne suis pas au pouvoir.
Il est arrivé après vous. Vous êtes auteur de Chine-Europe, le grand tournant aux éditions du Passeur. Ce que vous retenez, vous, du sommet de Pékin, on va revenir un petit peu là-dessus avec vous, David Bavrez, c'est que l'Europe n'a pas compris en réalité l'état d'esprit de la Chine. Pourquoi ?
C'est-à-dire que pour les Chinois, l'Europe n'existe pas. C'est ça le vrai message. Ce sommet qui remonte
il y a quoi pour les Chinois ?
Dizaine de jours. Il devait durer 2 jours. On devait parler d'économie le second jour. Donc les Chinois ont dit on ne veut pas en parler, on ne parle pas. Et on a acté d'un déficit de 300 à 400 milliards de dollars par an de l'Europe vis-à-vis de la Chine. Et on a signé un accord climatique qui ne fait qu'acter une dépendance totale de l'Europe à la Chine sur le plan technologique pour la transition environnementale. Donc pour les Chinois, ce n'est que du gagnant-gagnant.
Mais il y a quoi s'il n'y a pas l'Europe ? Qu'est-ce qu'ils voient les Chinois dans le monde s'ils ne voient pas les Européens ?
Ce qu'ils font depuis maintenant depuis la crise de 2008, c'est qu'ils divisent, c'est l'art de la guerre, ils divisent l'Europe en s'attaquant aux maillons faibles qui aujourd'hui sont la Hongrie et l'Espagne et qui permettent de pénétrer commercialement l'ensemble de la zone sans faire aucune concession sur les conditions pour nos sociétés à l'entrée au marché chinois.
Un peu comme les négociations entre Washington et Bruxelles où il y a 15% d'un côté, il n'y a pas de contrepartie.
C'est ça qui est intéressant, c'est qu'on a poussé des hurlements en disant c'est une humiliation pour Madame von der Leyen devant Monsieur Trump, mais en réalité, il me semble que l'humiliation elle est beaucoup plus importante vis-à-vis de Pékin, parce que l'accord américain, on va pouvoir le renégocier. On va se rendre compte que 80% de ces tarifs ils sont payés par, si vous en croyez Goldman Sachs, par le consommateur et les entreprises américaines.
Le 7 août, avant après-demain ?
Non, mais on va s'assurer que ce sont les Américains qui payent pour ces tarifs. La Chine, c'est très différent. La Chine, ce qu'on a, c'est ce que j'appelle un second choc chinois qui arrive. Donc le premier choc chinois, ça a été en 2001 quand la Chine est rentrée dans l'OMC, et la Chine a fait ce qu'on ne voulait plus faire. Mais aujourd'hui, la Chine fait ce qu'on souhaite faire. Et ce second choc, il est orienté autour de 3 axes. L'innovation, parce que la Chine innove de plus en plus. Donc, on parle ici de voitures électriques, mais à Hong Kong, on ne parle plus de voitures électriques, on parle que de voitures connectées et autonomes. On a déjà marié hardware et software, qui est la manière de digitaliser les industries du XXe siècle et les digitaliser au XXIe. Prenez la grande surprise des 12 derniers mois, c'est la pharmacie. Et les biotech. Les Chinois trouvent maintenant 30% des nouvelles molécules. C'est-à-dire qu'ils sont en avance sur les États-Unis. Donc le premier point, c'est l'innovation. Le second, c'est les surcapacités industrielles.
Parenthèse là-dessus, ça vous fait un choc, vous aussi, qui vivez là-bas, entre Hong Kong, Pékin,
Alors,
Shanghai, quand vous revenez en France?
Alors, ça me fait pas un choc de voir le sang chinois privé le plus entrepreneurial au monde nous surprendre en innovation. Ce qui me surprend pas non plus, c'est que ces gains de productivité, ils sont réinvestis dans des surcapacités industrielles. Donc ça c'est le gouvernement qui dit, vous devez réinvestir les gains, non pas pour générer des dividendes, mais pour créer des surcapacités qui vont nous permettre de lancer une guerre des prix vis-à-vis du reste du monde et rendre le reste de la planète dépendante des exportations chinoises. Et c'est pour ça que ce second choc, il est très dangereux. Et si vous rajoutez un petit zeste de guerre monétaire avec des États-Unis qui disent la seule manière de relancer la croissance américaine, c'est une dévaluation du dollar, que la Chine refuse la réévaluation de sa monnaie, on va avoir un euro qui va être totalement surévalué.
Si je résume ce que vous dites, David Bavrez, l'Europe, l'Union européenne, c'est le marchepied de la Chine.
C'est surtout que on n'existe pas. Et que donc il faut qu'on décide, soit on se ressaisit, et c'est tout l'enjeu du chancelier allemand aujourd'hui, c'est que dans ce monde qui est surendetté, il n'y a qu'une grande puissance qui est sous-endettée, c'est l'Allemagne, qui a 1000 milliards d'euros sous le pied et qui, en fonction de la manière dont il va hésiter, va permettre ou non de remettre l'Europe sur l'échiquier mondial.
Ça tient à ça, la réussite de l'Union européenne face aux géants chinois?
Malheureusement, quand vous êtes très endetté, vous perdez votre souveraineté. Et que les seuls qui ont encore une souveraineté potentielle en Europe, c'est l'Allemagne. Ils l'ont perdu avec le gaz russe, avec la défense américaine et avec les exportations chinoises. Et je pense que le chancelier Merz a un agenda de 5 ans pour rendre à l'Allemagne sa souveraineté. Ce que nous, naturellement, nous n'avons pas en France.
Et en même temps, vous disiez, David Bavrez, la Chine a tendance à diviser les Européens pour mieux régner. C'est vrai que ça reste difficile d'unir et d'unifier quand on est 27. Et on l'a vu, je reparle à nouveau de la guerre commerciale avec Donald Trump. Mais c'est difficile d'incarner l'Europe quand on représente 27
Et pourquoi on n'arrive
États.
pas à diviser la Chine quand la croissance chinoise aujourd'hui, si vous écoutez les meilleurs macroéconomistes, la croissance chinoise est seulement de 1 à 2%. C'est une croissance européenne, maintenant, la croissance de la Chine. Donc, faut pas croire que la Chine est totalement unie derrière Xi Jinping. Il y a naturellement tout un secteur économique privé qui n'est pas du tout d'accord avec la politique qui est poursuivie.
Vous me faites une super transition, David Bavrez. Je voulais aussi qu'on parle de ça. Vous avez sûrement vu que certains sinologues, depuis quelques semaines, soulignent que Xi Jinping, depuis quelques mois, effectivement, est en retrait sur la scène politique, que ce soit intérieure ou internationale. On l'a vu au sommet des BRICS, où il était, son absence a été remarquée. On remarque aussi que le PCC, qui s'est réuni fin juin pour mettre en place de nouvelles réglementations pour régir ces organes décisionnels. Comment est-ce que vous interprétez ça?
Ça fait quand même 3 ans qu'on est en déflation de l'indice des prix à la production. Donc, la dernière fois, il faut remonter à Mao Tse-tung pour avoir une telle performance. Donc, naturellement, il y a, et vous avez raison de le dire, de plus en plus de rumeurs qui sont montées depuis le mois de juin. Mais ce qu'on a tendance à m'en oublier, c'est que vous pouvez en Chine avoir économiquement tort très longtemps tant que vous avez politiquement raison. Il est arrivé l'inverse au père de Xi Jinping, il est allé en prison pendant 15 ans. Donc le président Xi a bien ça en tête. Et aujourd'hui, ce ralentissement économique dont le coût est supporté entièrement par la population, c'est quoi qu'il vous en coûte, donc c'est très différent de chez nous, ce coût qui est économiquement important, en fait, est contrebalancé par ce mot magique, humiliation, où Xi dit à sa population, le 19e siècle, c'est la Chine qui est humiliée par l'Occident, le 21e siècle, c'est le siècle où la Chine va humilier l'Occident.
Et en même temps, le président chinois, en réalité, il a toutes les cartes politiques en main jusqu'à maintenant, donc pas question qu'il parte tout de suite, il contrôle absolument tout.
Non, alors ce qui est en discussion, c'est ce qu'on appelle le standing committee, donc le comité permanent, les 7 personnes qui dirigent la Chine, où à la fin du mois de juin, il y a un communiqué qui appelle à une décision plus collégiale, ce qui était historiquement la Chine depuis Mao, plutôt qu'une seule personne qui dirige.
Donc peut-être un changement de paradigme qui ne veut pas dire pour autant changement de président.
Exactement.
Ouais. Merci beaucoup, David Bevrez, d'être venu nous voir ce matin, investisseur installé à Hong Kong, auteur de Chine-Europe, le grand tournant.
Mesdames, Messieurs, bonjour. Bienvenue à la revue des Grandes Unes. C'est la première édition de la semaine. Nous sommes le lundi 11 août 2025 et nous sommes en direct de nos studios de Douala. Découvrons les titres proposés par les journaux ce matin. La nouvelle expression d'abord sur la présidentielle 2025. Titre, Monseigneur Cléda refait le procès du renouveau. L'archevêque métropolitain de Douala revient à la charge au moment où le Conseil constitutionnel a retenu la liste des candidats qui vont solliciter le suffrage des Camerounais le 12 octobre 2025. Il rappelle notamment la situation dans laquelle se trouve le Cameroun, notamment la mauvaise gouvernance et la corruption, la démocratie dévoyée, la pauvreté généralisée et le chômage, l'immigration clandestine, le délabrement du réseau routier, l'accès difficile à l'eau et à l'électricité, la gestion nébuleuse du pétrole, les injustices dans l'exploitation minière, les crises anglophones et sécuritaires à l'extrême nord du pays. Vous lirez donc l'intégralité de la lettre pastorale de Monseigneur Cléda dans les colonnes de la nouvelle expression. Sur le même sujet, mutation de ce matin, titre présidentiel 2025, la clé selon Monseigneur Cléda. Dans une lettre pastorale de circonstance, l'archevêque de Douala estime que le Cameroun a besoin d'un homme nouveau pour sortir du bourbier où il se trouve. Le prélat s'appuie notamment sur la démocratie dévoyée, le délabrement des infrastructures, les crises sécuritaires et l'accès précaire ou inexistant aux services sociaux de base. L'intégralité de la lettre pastorale de Monseigneur Cléda a lieu dans Mutation. A lieu également dans le confidentiel Monseigneur Samuel Cléda, sauvons notre pays de sa mort lente. Dans une sortie au vitriol, l'archevêque métropolitain de Douala rompt le silence et tacle violemment le président Paul Biya à l'approche des élections présidentielles d'octobre 2025. Il appelle à une prise de conscience générale de tous les acteurs sociaux en vue de réconcilier les cœurs et de normaliser la vie sociale. Des précisions donc dans le journal Le Confidentiel. À la une du quotidien Le Jour, allie également la lettre pastorale de Monseigneur Cléda, et également à lire dans le quotidien Le Jour, Mamadou Mota, qui dit que nous ne nous laisserons pas décourager. Le président du mouvement pour la renaissance du Cameroun réagit à l'éviction de la candidature de Maurice Kamto de la présidentielle 2025 et aux défis qui attendent le parti. L'interview est à lire dans le quotidien Le Jour, à la une du journal Émergence, négociation, Bello, Kamto, Tiroma, les confidences de Belebouba Maïgari, titre Émergence. Le candidat de l'UNDP à la présidentielle a reconnu être en discussion avancée avec ces deux leaders politiques. Décryptage à lire dans le journal Émergence de ce matin, de même que l'heure du Sahel qui en fait sa grande une présidentielle 2025. Bello Bouba fait de la réconciliation nationale sa priorité. À la une de Cameroun Tribune, organisation matérielle de la présidentielle, la machine est lancée, désormais fixée sur le nombre définitif de candidats retenus, et l'ECAM a entamé les opérations nécessaires pour la production des documents électoraux et des autres éléments nécessaires à la bonne tenue du scrutin d'octobre prochain. Dans le même temps, les autres acteurs, notamment les candidats et leurs équipes, intensifient la mobilisation sur le terrain. Reportage à lire dans le dossier de Cameroun Tribune. L'Indépendant s'intéresse à cette affaire condamnée à vie au TCF et s'il livrait ses complices, nous dit le journal Indépendant. Une première au Cameroun où un syndicat obtient la peine capitale pour un expatrié le 21 janvier 2025. L'ancien DG de Cameco, Alex Van Elk, a écopé par contumace d'une condamnation à perpétuité pour détournement aggravé de fonds publics associés, assorti d'un mandat d'arrêt international. Il est également déchu de ses droits civiques pour 10 ans, nous dit le journal Indépendant. Le journal L'économie s'intéresse à la mauvaise qualité du réseau. Le retour à la normale prendra du temps, nous dit le journal L'économie de ce matin. À la une du Messager, Douala, l'urbanisme à l'hôtel des urnes, titre le journal Le Messager. Entre chantier à l'abandon, non-paiement des prestations, gouvernance municipale grippée, en passant par l'amateurisme, le copinage et une bonne dose de calcul électoral, la communauté urbaine baigne dans une politique aux effets d'annonce. Évocation en page 5 du journal Le Messager. Repère s'intéresse à la sécurité monétaire et cette croisade contre les faux billets. Le journal revient sur cette application BEAC NG 2020 qui est gratuite et qui permet aux usagers de vérifier en temps réel l'authenticité des coupures en circulation depuis décembre 2022. À la une du financier d'Afrique, Afrique centrale des assises pour promouvoir la finance islamique en zone CEMAC, sujet donc à retrouver dans le financier d'Afrique. Et puis intégration évoque ses projets pour plus d'aplomb dans l'intégration en Afrique. Détail d'intégration de ce matin. Voilà donc pour cette première partie. On va accueillir nos invités en plateau. Je commence par Bernard Batana. Bonjour et bienvenue.
Bonjour Achille Kanga. Bonjour Thierry Niopé. Bonjour à tous les téléspectateurs de la revue des Grandes Unes. Et je vais entrer avec deux précisions ce matin. Il y a eu cet incident qui vient de se produire sur l'antenne où je me suis déplacé. Les téléspectateurs voudront bien comprendre que ce sont les aléas du direct.
Vous ne quittiez pas le plateau.
On ne quittait pas le plateau. On passait juste d'une table à une autre. Ça, c'est la première des précisions. La deuxième, vous savez, nous entrons dans le vif. Nous sommes en pleine période électorale. Et toutes les actions que les politiques, que ce soit les économiques, posent en cette année sont vues à l'aune de l'élection présidentielle de 2025. Je reviens un peu sur le titre qui m'a intéressé, celui du Messager, qui parle des infrastructures dans nos différentes communes et parlant plus particulièrement des infrastructures de la communauté urbaine de Yaoundé qui peinent à être mises en place. Nous avons deux bâtiments de la communauté urbaine de Douala qui ne sont pas achevés jusqu'aujourd'hui. Les travaux ont commencé il y a 4 ans, notamment le bâtiment qui devait abriter les services techniques de la communauté urbaine de Douala que nous avons visité et qui n'est pas encore prêt à être livré. Cela veut dire que les prestataires de services auxquels la communauté a fait recours pour loger ces services ne sont pas prêts à libérer, à se départir de ce bailleur, de ce locataire. Donc, il est question pour la communauté urbaine de Douala de payer les dettes de ces prestataires pour que ceux-ci rentrent dans leurs droits. Je fais allusion à la société civile immobilière de Bonanjo qui loge les services techniques de la communauté urbaine logée à Bonanjo et qui attendent que la communauté urbaine paye ses loyers qui ne sont toujours pas faits.
Merci pour ce sujet d'entrée, Bernard Batana, un sujet qui intéresse la presse parce que le Messager en parle ce matin. Le Messager évoque dans cette communauté urbaine de Douala qui a mal à ses infrastructures. On va accueillir Thierry Niopé. Thierry, bonjour, bienvenue.
Bonjour Achille, bonjour à Bernard, bonjour aux téléspectateurs de la revue des Grandes Unes. C'est un plaisir d'être là ce matin. Point besoin de revenir sur ce que Bernard a dit tout à l'heure, qui est un sujet majeur d'ailleurs de l'actualité. Et je vous rappelle que les chantiers sont nombreux, qui interpellent d'ailleurs nos principaux dirigeants. On en parlera certainement dans la première partie de cette émission.
Justement, on en parle avec cette sortie de Monseigneur Cléda, cette lettre pastorale au vitriol qui critique donc la gouvernance du régime Paul Biya. On l'a vu à la une de la nouvelle expression, Monseigneur Cléda qui fait le procès du renouveau. Il a parlé de mauvaise gouvernance, corruption, démocratie dévoyée, la pauvreté généralisée, accès difficile aux services sociaux de base. Bernard, je commence par Thierry Niopé, justement. Vous également, vous avez parlé dans le confidentiel de cette lettre pastorale. Vous avez titré ce matin « Sauvons notre pays de sa mort lente ». Justement, vous allez entendre sur cette sortie, une fois encore, de Monseigneur Cléda.
Oui, en fait, il faut dire que pour comprendre cette sortie, qui est d'ailleurs extrêmement importante. Il faut relever qu'il s'agit d'une sortie qui repose quand même sur 14 bonnes pages, format ordinaire, ce qui démontre à suffit que l'archevêque métropolitain de la ville de Douala avait beaucoup à dire. Et comme, d'ailleurs, au niveau de la communication, nous avons déploré malheureusement le fait que cette correspondance ne soit pas partagée en monovision, parce qu'en fait, elle regorge des éléments extrêmement importants qui pourraient permettre aux futurs électeurs de savoir exactement où faire pencher la balance. Mais pour rappeler aux autres l'importance justement de celle-ci, il convient de relever le travail que nous avons fait pour démontrer à suffire que c'est une correspondance qui devrait être segmentée à peu près à une dizaine de parties. Parce qu'on sait que les gars parlent d'abord du devoir de responsabilité face à l'avenir du pays. Donc les Camerounais devraient tous aller aux urnes pour voter le futur président de la République, parce qu'en fait, il s'agit d'un devoir de responsabilité par rapport ou face à l'avenir du pays. Il a parlé de l'espérance en tant que vertu qui devait être mise en chemin dans la gouvernance, dans le cadre de la gouvernance de ceux qui sont appelés à nous diriger. Il a parlé des actes anti-évangéliques, ce que vous avez parlé tout à l'heure, de la corruption qu'il a longtemps dénoncé, malheureusement, dont les solutions peinent à être trouvées. Mais il faut dire que le problème est même systémique, parce qu'aujourd'hui, la corruption n'est pas seulement au sommet de l'État, elle est dans tous les maillons de la chaîne de gouvernance. Il a parlé de la mauvaise gouvernance, il a parlé effectivement du peuple qui devrait être au cœur des préoccupations des gouvernants. Malheureusement, tel n'est pas le cas selon son constat. Il a parlé de la démocratie dévoyée avec ses intimidations, ses séquestrations, ses libertés qui sont quelque peu galvaudées. Il a parlé également du scandale des inégalités sociales. En fait, on a fait un travail de dissection pour permettre aux uns aux autres de comprendre la teneur de ce message qui, on le dit, est extrêmement important pour l'avenir de ce pays. Et il est resté égal à lui-même, parce que d'aucuns avaient argué que, rappelez-vous, qu'elle avait reçu le ministre d'État, secrétaire général de la présidence de la République, M. Ngongo, voilà, il a été acheté, donc voilà, il ne pourrait plus tenir les discours qu'il avait tenus. Je vous rappelle que c'était au lendemain de ces multiples sorties des prélats qui dénonçaient la gouvernance du régime en place au pouvoir depuis pratiquement 43 ans. Mais il est resté égal à lui-même. Quelques mois plus tard, il est revenu, tout en étant plus incisif sur ces différentes dénonciations. Donc, vraiment que les Camerounais s'approprient ce test, le lisent, le comprennent, parce qu'il est resté dans l'air du temps. Il dit ce que nous avons l'habitude de dire sur ce plateau.
Alors, Bernard Batana, ce procès, donc par la nouvelle expression, ça veut dire que la position de l'Église catholique est claire. On le savait déjà depuis un certain moment. Là, on réaffirme là totalement la position de l'Église catholique. Il faut une alternance au sommet de l'État.
Alors, dans la tradition de l'Église catholique, il y a ce qu'on appelle les lettres pastorales. C'est-à-dire que, en fonction de la situation sociopolitique, l'Église peut se prononcer sur un fait, sur un domaine précis, sur un fait précis. C'est ce qui a été fait par l'archevêque métropolitain de Douala, Monseigneur Cléda. Et je crois que cette sortie sonne effectivement comme une consigne de vote. Parce que ce pasteur, que d'aucuns qualifient de pasteur rebelle, parce qu'il est sur les traces de Monseigneur Toumi, a passé au crible tous les maux qui minent notre société, en commençant par les aspects fondamentaux, c'est-à-dire l'accès à l'eau et à l'électricité, jusqu'aux problèmes purement politiques, c'est-à-dire la démocratie qu'il juge de dévoyer, en passant par les crises qui secouent notre pays, la crise anglophone, la crise anglophone dans les régions du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest, et la crise du Boko Haram dans la région du septentrion. Donc vous voyez qu'il a fait le tour des problèmes qui minent nos sociétés, tout en appelant à un nouveau paradigme et de nouveaux hommes à la tête du pays. Ça sonne comme une consigne de vote face à ces ouailles. D'abord, parce que le pasteur de l'Église catholique s'adresse d'abord aux fidèles catholiques avant de s'adresser aux autres. C'est une consigne de vote qu'il donne. J'ai dit tout à l'heure que toutes les actions cette année seront analysées à l'aune de l'élection, parce qu'effectivement, nous avons une année électorale. Cette sortie de Monseigneur Cléda est une sortie purement politique.
Et il dit, je cite un bout de phrase, le Cameroun a besoin d'un nouveau paradigme et des hommes nouveaux pour sortir. On a vu tout à l'heure une mutation qui
parle de bourbier.
Tout à fait.
Il parle Cameroun comme un bourbier. De nouveaux paradigmes et de nouvelles personnes pour sortir du bourbier. Il a qualifié le Cameroun comme étant un bourbier.
Et vous avez bien parlé de cibles parce que je disais que mutation seulement parle de cette présidentielle. La clé selon Monseigneur Cléda, est-ce que vous pensez justement qu'il sera suffisamment entendu, du moins l'Église catholique sera entendu par rapport à ces revendications sur cette présidentielle?
Je vous l'ai dit tout à l'heure, c'est un test qui n'est pas suffisamment ventilé et le service de la communication justement de la Sud-Diocèse de Douala devrait travailler là-dessus pour que les Camerounais s'en approprient, les Camerounais lisent et comprennent. Parce que ce sont des mots qui gangrènent le corps social. On ne le dira jamais assez. Quand ils parlent même, rappelez-vous du scandale de Greencore, rappelez-vous de Cesta, on en a parlé.
On voit bien que Monseigneur est au parfum de toute l'actualité.
Mais bien sûr. Cela va de soi. Hein. On a l'habitude de dire le chef d'État est l'homme le plus renseigné, devrait être l'homme le plus renseigné au Cameroun. L'Église catholique est, je crois, l'une des organisations, en dehors certainement du DPC, en tant que formation politique, qui est la mieux structurée et la mieux implantée au Cameroun. Donc l'Église catholique est partout où se trouvent les hommes, partout où se trouvent les gens. L'Église catholique qui est implantée est suffisamment implantée. Donc c'est le relais de tous les maux qui gangrènent le corps social, là où l'Église catholique se trouve. Je vous rappelle que Monseigneur Cléga n'est pas le premier à le dire au sein de l'Église catholique. Plusieurs autres archevêques et plusieurs autres évêques l'ont dit. Cela démontre en principe que c'est une idée globale de la situation du Cameroun, parce qu'en fait, les mots sont là. Ils n'inventent pas le fil à couper du beurre. Ils disent ce que nous vivons. Quand on parle justement de ces inégalités sociales-là, tout le monde voit comment cela se passe au Cameroun. Aujourd'hui, la corruption a atteint des pics insoupçonnables. Il se trouve malheureusement que cela n'a pas seulement un impact. Cela ne vient pas seulement de l'autre gouvernant, mais cela s'est métastasé même au niveau de la cellule de base de toute société, donc la famille. Aujourd'hui, il est normal pour un chef de famille de corrompre un enseignant, de corrompre un chef d'établissement pour faire entrer son enfant dans un lycée ou pas, de monnaie pour des notes. Il est normal de monnaie pour un service. C'est même, je dirais, c'est même la clé pour sortir justement ou pour faire débloquer un dossier. Il se trouve malheureusement que le système, en 43 ans, a certainement eu beaucoup d'avancées, mais il y a également beaucoup de reculades, qu'on le veuille ou pas. Aujourd'hui, quand on regarde, on parlait de Bourbier, vous avez mené une série de reportages dans votre édition du 20h où on parle de la vie dans l'arrière-pays. C'est là où vous vous rendez compte qu'il y a des Camerounais qui vivent pratiquement comme si on était à l'ère de l'avant-indépendance, où même l'accès aux même l'accès aux infrastructures de base se pose avec beaucoup d'acuité. Quand on regarde par exemple l'accès à l'eau potable, à l'électricité, il y a des contrées où on ne sait même pas ce qu'on appelle l'électricité. Par exemple, nous qui sommes issus, le mot étant malheureusement haïssable, mais nous qui sommes issus dans des zones comme la Sanaga maritime, Bernard qui connaît très bien l'UNCAM pour y être originaire, c'est que là-bas, la route ne fait pas partie de notre quotidien. C'est que l'électricité, on ne sait pas ce que c'est. C'est que l'eau potable, on ne sait pas. Mais les forages qui devaient être une solution palliative n'existent pas. Alors qu'à l'époque, nous l'avions, nous les enfants de prolétaires, nous l'avions parfois sous des bornes de fontaines à l'époque parce qu'il y en avait partout. Aujourd'hui, pour avoir accès à l'eau, vous êtes obligé de l'acheter, même l'eau en sachet, même si elle n'est pas de bonne qualité, vous êtes obligé de l'acheter alors qu'à l'époque, il y avait des bornes de fontaines qui pullulaient partout. Donc, il y a eu beaucoup de reculades. Quand on regarde le réseau routier, même au niveau des métropoles, il laisse à désirer. La ville de Douala, si je vous montre les images, parce qu'en fait, c'est un grand reportage que nous sommes en train de préparer dans le cadre de notre Web TV, sur la qualité du réseau routier dans la métropole économique. Vous allez avoir des cheveux blancs. Partout où la mairie de la ville a eu à travailler ces derniers temps, aujourd'hui, c'est devenu impraticable. Prenez l'axe Ndokoti, 50X, en allant jusqu'à le Baba, c'est pratiquement non carrossable. Prenez Koto, à quelques encablures de la localité, de la résidence du maire de la ville. Là-bas, les populations souffrent le martyre. En fait, c'est presque partout. Que ce soit Bonabéry, Yassa. Non, en fait, ce que mon cher Péga dit, si on commence, une émission ne suffirait pas. Une émission de toute une journée ne suffirait pas pour dénoncer les mots qui sont évoqués.
Maintenant, je ne sais pas si vous embarrasser un tout petit peu. Jusqu'où l'église catholique peut-elle aller après ces lettres pastorales? Est-ce qu'on peut franchir notre cap? Vous avez parlé de consigne de vote. Est-ce qu'on peut aller plus loin, donc précisément? Peut-être il faut aller vers tel ou tel.
Je vais vous répondre.
Vous savez que l'Église a tracé le portrait du futur leader. Aujourd'hui, on parle de tous ces mots-là, on parle d'alternance. C'est clair. Maintenant, est-ce qu'il faut aller plus loin?
Je vais vous répondre par une anecdote. Un jour, lors d'une interview, le cardinal Toumi, paix à son âme, décriait la corruption avec la plus grande énergie. On lui a posé la question, celle de savoir, Monseigneur, si votre mère est sur la table d'opération, elle est prête à mourir, et que le médecin demande des bakshish pour continuer le travail, que feriez-vous? Il n'a jamais répondu à cette question. Jusqu'où peut aller l'Église catholique, mais dans la sensibilisation des masses. Thierry est allé dans les détails de tous les points qui sont notés. Moi, je pense que cette lettre pastorale devait être photocopiée et distribuée à tous les Camerounais. Parce qu'il s'agit d'un document de base en cette période électorale. C'est un document qui permettra de confronter ceux des politiques qui vont chercher les suffrages. Lorsqu'ils iront en campagne électorale, il faudra leur poser cela. Qu'est-ce que vous avez fait de l'accès à l'eau, à l'électricité? Qu'est-ce que vous avez fait de la démocratie dans ce pays? Qu'est-ce que vous avez fait de la crise anglophone? Qu'est-ce que vous avez fait de la crise du Boko Haram? Voilà les questions auxquelles les politiques doivent répondre. C'est ces préoccupations qui sont consignées dans la lettre pastorale.
Et donc, Monseigneur qui parle de ces nouveaux hommes qui peuvent se recruter parmi peut-être 11 candidats qui sont en face du RDPC. Je le dis parce qu'il y a le journal Émergence qui est revenu sur ces candidats à la présidentielle, les confidences de Bello Bambagari. On parle beaucoup de cette coalition avec Issa Tirouma Bakari et le professeur Maurice Kamto, candidat recalé du Maïdem. Je vous pose également la question, Thierry Ignopé, est-ce que cette alternance dont parlent les hommes d'église pourrait également intéresser, être orienté vers ces personnes dans la une de l'émergence?
Je vous assure, plus on parle de la sortie de l'archevêque métropolitain de la ville de Douala, plus j'ai des ulcères au ventre. Pourquoi? Parce que on se serait attendu à ce que la situation change. Mais à l'allure où vont les choses, je suis convaincu, au minima, à 80%, que le président Biya va rempiler. Va rempiler parce que l'opposition camerounaise est tellement fragmentée, divisée, balkanisée, au point où on a l'impression que ces rencontres sont de la pure théâtralisation de la scène politique. J'ai même l'impression que les leaders politiques d'opposition camerounaise jouent le jeu du RDPC, à la limite, ils ne le sont d'ailleurs pas. Ce ne sont pas des acteurs mobilisés à la solde du parti au pouvoir. Vous avez vu ce qui s'est passé au Sénégal, en Côte d'Ivoire. C'est-à-dire, quand les leaders ont dit on ne veut plus d'un 4e mandat du président Ouattara, vous avez vu ce qu'on a appelé mobilisation. À un moment donné, je me suis dit, si ce n'était pas des images quelque peu truquées, on a vu les leaders d'opinion, les hommes politiques sortir et faire chorus autour d'un seul idéal. Rappelez-vous qu'à l'époque, quand le candidat Kamto, le président du MRC, à l'époque, il était encore président du MRC, il avait dénoncé la non-publication de la liste électorale nationale. Aucun leader, sinon un seul, je veux dire, c'est Gispo Matomba, c'était resté le même siège pour dire qu'on ne peut pas aller à une élection sans connaître réellement le corps électoral. Mais personne n'a levé le petit doigt. La population est restée bras croisés comme si cela ne les concernait pas. Et plus tard, on a démontré qu'il y a des gens qui ont des triples inscriptions, qu'on retrouve des morts à l'intérieur et tout cela. Donc, quand on regarde la réaction de la population camerounaise par rapport à ce qui se passe ailleurs, tout à côté, on a l'impression que la démocratie au Cameroun est un cas atypique. C'est-à-dire, la gestion de la démocratie au Cameroun est suffisamment assez atypique. Est-ce à croire que c'est à cause de ces intimidations que dénonce, je veux dire, Monseigneur Kliga, que les Camerounais sont en mauve, ont peur de dénoncer un certain nombre de choses, parce que même les hommes de médias, nous les journalistes que nous sommes, quand nous sommes parfois sur un plateau de télévision, on a peur de dire certaines choses parce qu'on se dit, mais à la sortie de là, on sera peut-être appelé, par les autorités judiciaires, sécuritaires, pour dire, en fait, pour traduire le fond de notre pensée, alors qu'en fait, nous n'étions là que des objecteurs de conscience. Nous ne jouons le rôle que de ces voix, de ces malheurs qui n'ont point de voix et qui se cachent au cachot du désespoir. Parce qu'en fait, pour du désespoir, il y en a énormément. Vivement que les Camerounais eux-mêmes prennent leurs responsabilités. Et c'est le sens de la sortie de mon soeur Kléga, que les Camerounais prennent leurs responsabilités, comme on l'a vu ailleurs, et que les leaders politiques, les présidents, candidats à cette élection, ces 11-là, comprennent que l'une des voies, sinon la seule qui soit susceptible de faire bouger les lignes, ce n'est que le consensus. Donc, quand on parle de consensus entre Bello et Chiroma, je dis, mais ça ne sert à rien. Ce sont les patates d'un même sillon. Quand on parle vivement que les gens s'asseyent et mûrissent une idée collective et décident de choisir de là, au sortir de là, un candidat. Sinon deux, susceptibles de faire le poids devant le candidat Bia. Sinon, le RDPC va remplir et je parierais au moins à 80% que ça sera le cas.
Bernard Batana, dans l'émergence, nous vous apprend qu'il y a des confidences entre justement Bello et les autres, Tiroma et Maurice Kamto. Et d'ailleurs, on a vu l'œil du Sahel qui dit que la priorité de Bello Bouba, c'est de se réconcilier. Donc, avec, il parle de la réconciliation nationale qui est sa priorité. Est-ce que vous croyez à une alternance possible avec ces hommes?
Il faut d'abord réagir à ce que Thierry vient de dire. On a mis dans la tête des Camerounais que aller faire une manifestation publique, c'est mourir. On a diabolisé ce qu'on appelle manifestation publique. Et lorsque j'ai regardé ce qui s'est passé en Côte d'Ivoire, j'ai parlé à ce que je développe ici souvent, la théorie du thermomètre social. Le thermomètre social, le niveau du curseur est haut. Le niveau du curseur est haut en Côte d'Ivoire et le niveau de ce curseur est à 0 au Cameroun. Maintenant, pour revenir à votre question, je l'ai toujours dit et soutenu ici. Lorsque un homme crée un parti politique, c'est pour accéder au pouvoir. C'est une ambition légitime. Ça, c'est normal. C'est d'un. La deuxième des choses, dans l'environnement dans lequel on se trouve, aucun candidat isolé ne pourra venir à bout du RDPC. Aucun, mais alors aucun. Par conséquent, il faut des conciliabules. Il faut que les hommes politiques, les 11 candidats se réunissent pour trouver une solution d'un candidat unique sans laquelle on ne pourra jamais venir à bout du RDPC. Vous m'avez dit, qu'est-ce que j'en pense? Je pense que voilà quelqu'un qui se met comme un négociateur, quelqu'un qui met une plateforme. Pourquoi pas les hommes politiques? En 1992, ils se sont réunis autour du cardinal Toumi pour assurer l'alternance. On a vu les résultats. Pourquoi ne peuvent plus se mettre autour de Cléda? Parce que Cléda montre quand même la voie. Il est intéressé par la chose politique. C'est un homme de Dieu. c'est un homme qui peut faire l'affaire. Moi, ça, c'est une solution concrète. Pourquoi les 12 candidats ne peuvent pas se réunir autour de Monseigneur Cléda pour lui demander ses bons offices?
D'accord, voilà donc pour votre réaction sur ce que Bello a négocié avec, en tout cas, Maurice Kamto, encore ça, Tirma Bakary, ça est à lire dans le journal émergent de ce matin. On va sortir rapidement des informations pratiques. Thierry Nopek à mon tribune parle de cette machine qui est véritablement lancée. On connaît définitivement les candidats qui vont concourir d'octobre prochain. Et là, on demande aux candidats de venir dès aujourd'hui pour déposer les emblèmes, les couleurs de leur bulletin de vote, par exemple.
Ah oui, il faut dire que c'est la dernière ligne droite. Hein. Les candidats devraient savoir que d'ici quelques jours, il ne sera plus question de faire marche arrière. Parce que si on imprime déjà des bulletins de vote, c'est fini. Le dossier est classé. Vous serez obligé d'aller à cette élection. Parce que si vous n'y allez pas, à la dernière minute, vos bulletins se retrouveront toujours le jour du vote et cela participerait à embarrasser l'électeur. Donc, vivement que les uns et les autres trouvent rapidement la solution que nous proposons et que l'on comprenne. Si c'est un candidat jeune, qu'on choisit un candidat jeune et tout le monde s'aligne derrière, si on va faire deux consensus, soit les jeunes et les vieux, et puis les deux générations, pas de l'affronter le président bien, mais c'est maintenant qu'il faut le faire parce que bientôt, on ne parlera plus de cette coalition, de ces consensus, parce qu'en fait, la machine sera définitivement lancée.
Bernard, maintenant, pour sortir, ces informations pratiques sont importantes aussi. On dit souvent que dans l'arrière-pays, on vote selon les bulletins, les couleurs, etc. C'est aussi important qu'on évoque cette organisation matérielle.
Il faut aussi savoir qu'il y a les consignes de vote de dernière minute. On peut avoir imprimé ces bulletins et qu'en dernière minute, lors de son dernier meeting, on demande à ses militants de voter pour tel ou tel autre candidat. Mais cela
il y a des candidats qui peuvent désister.
Donc cela n'empêche pas qu'effectivement, qu'ils aillent donner leur couleur pour que le processus continue normalement.
Achille a dit, dans l'arrière-pays, on vote parfois en fonction de la couleur. Donc, amenons les Camerounais et surtout ces leaders-là à comprendre que le plus important, c'est de se fédérer, c'est de se coaliser pour finir par trouver les oiseaux, les perles rares qui pourront faire certainement bouger les lignes, comme le pense Monseigneur Cléda ou comme le pense certains Camerounais. Quant à nous, nous n'avons pas notre opinion à dire ici, à donner ici. Nous faisons des analyses parce que dans l'urne, chacun de nous sera le bulletin qui sera appelé à mettre pour les 7 prochaines années.
Merci Thierry Nopin, merci à Bernard Batana d'être venu décrypter l'actualité avec nous ce matin. Mesdames, Messieurs, merci d'avoir été des nôtres. On va dire merci aux équipes techniques en régie autour d'Innocent Abega et Emos Fongo. Restez sur Equinox Télévision, juste après nous c'est 10-12, le Zénith.
Vous retrouvez pour ce grand format de l'actualité. Bonsoir à tous, les titres du journal. Au sommaire, le meilleur reste à venir pour le Cameroun et Paul Biya se porte candidat à l'élection présidentielle du 12 octobre 2025. Après 43 ans de règne, l'actuel chef de l'État qui traîne un bilan controversé veut briguer un 8e mandat à la tête du pays. Âgé de 92 ans, la candidature de Paul Biya suscite des doutes au sein même du RDPC, de l'admiration et de la lassitude ainsi que la colère chez les citoyens. Les acteurs de la société civile appellent le peuple à l'envoyer définitivement au village par la voie des urnes. Dans l'actualité aussi, l'affaire de vol de sexe prend une tournure dramatique, notamment à Bafoussam. Un homme qui serait un employé au port autonome de Douala a été battu à mort. Les autorités locales qui indiquent que cette affaire relève purement de la fabulation annoncent des poursuites judiciaires contre ces personnes qui, sur la base des dénonciations fallacieuses, s'en prennent aux innocents. Voilà pour le sommaire. Vous faites bien quotidien de vous informer sur Equinox Télévision. Merci de choisir nos antennes. En ouverture de ce journal, des maisons d'habitation ont été détruites au même titre qu'une cinquantaine de boutiques à Newbel, dans l'arrondissement de Douala 2e. L'opération menée dans le cadre de l'assainissement et du réaménagement du marché a pris de court les victimes. C'est la désolation totale, surtout à l'approche de la rentrée scolaire. Un reportage de Claude Ecoa, Dallas Chana et Clarisse Fosso.
C'est un réveil difficile pour les habitants du lieu-dit Funkel à Newbel, dans le 2e arrondissement de la ville de Douala. Un engin démolit presque tout sur son passage. Les bâtisses s'écroulent à chaque coup de pelle. Cette opération de démolition, entamée depuis vendredi dernier, ne concerne pas seulement les commerçants, même les habitations situées à proximité du site.
Ce qu'on a pu nous dire, c'est qu'on a dit qu'on va casser. Nous, on a même demandé qu'on nous laisse quelques heures, le temps de récupérer même les actes de naissance des enfants. On a dit qu'on ne peut rien. Nous sommes aux abois comme ça.
On est à la belle étoile. Nous sommes dans un désarroi total. Nous sommes mal déjà avec les activités qui ne tournent pas. Avec la rentrée scolaire qui approche, c'est très compliqué.
Si certains habitants ont eu le temps de sauver quelques affaires, d'autres n'ont rien pu récupérer. Leurs maisons ont été démolies à leur absence alors qu'ils étaient en déplacement.
Beaucoup même ne sont pas là. Comme c'est les vacances, beaucoup de parents sont allés passer les vacances en campagne dans des villages avec les enfants. Donc ils viendront seulement constater.
Inquiets et déboussolés, les riverains affirment avoir saisi les autorités compétentes. Mais jusqu'à présent, aucune réponse ne leur a été donnée.
Nous sommes descendus à la sous-préfecture, le sous-préfet n'était pas là.
On a déposé une requête chez le gouverneur ce matin. Il a fermé son cabinet, mais on a enregistré quand même le courrier.
Cette démolition, selon les autorités, a pour but d'assainir, de réaménager et de moderniser le marché dans l'optique d'offrir un cadre plus sécurisé et conforme aux normes urbaines.
L'affaire de vol de sexe prend une tournure dramatique dans la ville de Bafoussam. Un homme qui serait un employé au port autonome de Douala a été battu à mort. Les autorités locales, sous le choc, annoncent des poursuites judiciaires contre ces personnes qui, sur la base des dénonciations fallacieuses, s'en prennent aux innocents. Ces autorités indiquent que cette affaire de vol relève purement et simplement de la fabulation. Robert Kenyé et Vivien Tonfac.
Cet homme au visage amoché ruisselant de sang a beau clamer son innocence, il a été jugé et condamné par la foule en furie comme étant un voleur de sexe. Le rouant de coups avec une rage indescriptible, ses bourreaux tentent de le faire avouer une pratique qu'il dit ignorer totalement, suscitant davantage la colère dans la foule. Extrait dans un état critique par les éléments du commissariat central de Bafoussam arrivés sur les lieux, cet homme lâche quelques informations sur son identité. Conduit à l'hôpital, il succombe finalement de ses blessures. Conduit, au moins 5 personnes ont failli périr sous les coups de ces justiciers d'un autre genre dans la ville de Bafoussam en l'espace d'une semaine.
Grâce à la vidéosurveillance qui est disséminée dans la ville, nous allons traquer tous ceux qui ont participé à ces lynchages d'individus, de citoyens potentiellement innocents.
Les accusations à l'origine de ces lynchages sont totalement non fondées selon les autorités locales. Dans un communiqué, le préfet du département de la Mifi fait savoir que cette folle rumeur sur une prétendue disparition de sexe masculin est dénuée de tout fondement au regard des résultats des analyses médicales menées avec professionnalisme sur des supposées victimes. Appelant la population à faire preuve de discernement et de retenue face à ce qu'il qualifie de baliverne propre à instaurer un climat de psychose, Christophe Faufier met en garde les auteurs de ces actes de violence injustifiés et insensés qu'ils seront traqués et punis sans la moindre complaisance. Pour l'heure, au moins 4 personnes ont été interpellées et seront présentées selon nos sources devant le procureur de la République.
Dans la page politique de ce journal, à 92 ans, Paul Biya défie le temps et l'histoire en annonçant sa candidature à un 8e mandat présidentiel. Après 43 ans de règne, le chef de l'État camerounais suscite à la fois de l'admiration, de la lassitude et la colère selon les camps, alors que l'opposition peine à parler d'une seule voix pour renverser le régime quarantenaire qui traîne un bilan très mitigé. Une question lancinante surgit. Le peuple camerounais accordera-t-il encore sa confiance à Paul Biya? Décryptage des analystes politiques dans le reportage de Théophile Chouke et Hubert Michel Kameni.
Paul Biya veut briguer un nouveau mandat à l'élection présidentielle prévue le 12 octobre 2025. Une annonce sans réelle surprise selon les analystes politiques André-Marie Biboum et le docteur Laurent Assipolo.
Ce n'est pas une candidature surprenante parce que le président Paul Biya ne se présente pas de lui-même, mais il est investi par son parti. Je me suis focalisé rien que sur les tests, étant donné que avant la convocation du corps électoral, il n'y a pas eu de congrès tenu par le RDPC, que ce soit un congrès ordinaire ou extraordinaire.
Second indice, il y a le rapport du président Paul Biya lui-même au pouvoir. Comme on peut le dire de manière assez triviale, mourir au pouvoir.
Pour la classe politique de l'opposition, la société civile, y compris certaines voix au sein du RDPC, Paul Biya veut briguer un mandat de trop. À plus de 92 ans, le président de la République fait l'objet de nombreuses interrogations quant à sa capacité à diriger. Beaucoup jugent que Paul Biya ne gouverne plus par lui-même. Mais là encore, il revient désormais aux électeurs d'en décider. Si oui ou non, le chef de l'État prendra un 8e mandat après avoir passé 43 ans au pouvoir.
Pour moi, aujourd'hui, ça ne devrait plus faire débat. Le jeu est lancé, le corps électoral est convoqué, les dépôts de candidatures ont commencé. Il revient aujourd'hui. Ce n'est pas le président Biya qui se vote lui-même. Il faut également mentionner cela. Alors, ceux qui estimeront qu'au sommet de son âge, il ne peut plus tenir, vont voter pour quelqu'un d'autre.
Désormais, l'opposition est appelée à s'unir autour d'un idéal commun, battre l'homme-lion à la régulière. Et une coalition autour d'un candidat unique de l'opposition ne serait pas trop demandée pour marquer un jet historique.
Avec les démissions de Issa Tirouma Bakari et de Bello Bouba Maïgari, donc c'est un coup de pouce important que l'opposition a reçu, c'est d'autant que ces deux hommes politiques de la première heure sont des ressortissants des régions septentrionales du Cameroun et on sait quel est le poids électoral de cette région.
Léon Teller Onana, élu local RDPC, dans un communiqué, remet en doute la candidature de Paul Biya. Il fait savoir que cette candidature est l'initiative orchestrée par son entourage pour maintenir le statu quo. Et de son côté, Maître Aliscom, après plusieurs appels à ne pas voir le président se présenter à l'élection, appelle le peuple souverain à l'envoyer définitivement au village par la voie des urnes. Jérès Yopa et Jean-Paul Boyo.
Maître Aliscom fait partie des nombreuses voix qui s'étaient élevées ces dernières semaines au Cameroun pour demander au président de la République de passer la main. Mais après l'annonce de candidature de Paul Biya intervenue ce dimanche, l'avocate dit reconnaître avoir prêché dans le désert.
Pour ne rien vous cacher, je ne m'attendais pas du tout à ce que le président ne se représente pas.
Pour elle, ce désespoir est fondé sur un ensemble d'éléments mis en place par Paul Biya afin de demeurer le plus longtemps possible au pouvoir.
Il a taillé le système électoral à sa mesure pour que plus jamais aucun Camerounais ne le dérange. Vous voyez, il ne nous voit pas, il ne nous entend pas, il n'est pas là pour nous et il a démontré tout le long de ses 43 ans au pouvoir.
L'actrice de la société civile appelle désormais le peuple souverain à dire «
C'est terminé ».
Autre voix dissidente venant des rangs du RDPC, celle de Léon Teller Onana. L'élu de la commune de Monatélé, dans un communiqué, remet en doute cette candidature de trop du président de la République, qui, selon lui, n'émane pas de Paul Biya. Il soutient qu'au vu de l'âge avancé du président de la République, celui-ci ne serait en mesure de rédiger ou de dicter un tel texte. L'élu RDPC, qui lui aussi avait précédemment annoncé sa candidature, dénonce une initiative orchestrée par l'entourage du président, déterminée à maintenir le statu quo, ayant conduit à la capture de l'État. Il se présente donc comme l'autre candidat du RDPC, opposé au clientélisme et au conservatisme.
Et la presse locale et internationale ne sont pas allées de main morte pour dénoncer la candidature de Paul Biya à l'élection présidentielle, rappelant son âge très avancé, ses 43 années de règne sans partage ou encore le fait qu'il est en lice pour la 8e fois. La presse relève des manquements graves dans sa gouvernance et s'interroge sur ce qu'il peut encore apporter aux Camerounais. Kemazu Maltido Sombar et Gladys Sidier Babadia.
Présidentielle 2025, nous sommes foutus.
C'est la grande une du journal Le Messager du lundi 14 juillet 2025 avec une photo de Paul Biya à l'appui. Alors que Mutation relève qu'il n'y aura donc pas de soir au village, rappelant ses propos tenus durant la dernière visite d'Emmanuel Macron au Cameroun, Intégration croit savoir que Paul Biya est un candidat fantôme. Une information aussi longuement relayée par la presse internationale. BBC News Afrique, le président camerounais Paul Biya, âgé de 92 ans, qui est également le plus vieux dirigeant au monde, a annoncé sa candidature à l'élection présidentielle du 12 octobre. France 24 aussi insiste sur l'âge de Paul Biya, précisant qu'il briguera un 8e mandat. RFI aussi relève qu'il s'agira là de la 8e participation à une élection présidentielle pour Paul Biya. Le Monde d'Afrique. Paul Biya, président du Cameroun depuis 42 ans, se déclare candidat à un 8e mandat. Une annonce qui survient alors que le camp Biya a récemment connu des défections de 2 anciens ministres ayant déjà déclaré leur candidature. Une candidature de Paul Biya annoncée sur son compte X, tel que le souligne Jeune Afrique, à moins de 3 mois de l'élection présidentielle.
Le processus électoral est officiellement lancé depuis vendredi dernier suite à la convocation du corps électoral par le chef de l'État. Une nouvelle phase débute, jalonnée par des exigences prévues par la loi, notamment le dépôt des candidatures. Mais quelles sont les prochaines étapes jusqu'à l'ouverture de la campagne électorale? Élément de réponse avec Steve Eboulé, Dallas Chana et Pascal Tanquet.
Paul Biya, conformément à l'article 86 du Code électoral, a enclenché le processus électoral pour le scrutin présidentiel. L'acte fondamental donne le coup d'envoi du calendrier électoral balisé par la loi.
Et une fois que c'est fait, le premier travail que nous faisons en ce moment, c'est de rassembler toutes les données qui ont été enregistrées dans les kits ainsi que dans les différents hubs. Une fois que c'est fait, donc toutes ces données doivent aller au Centre national de biométrie pour le traitement.
Dès cette convocation, les candidats issus des partis politiques ou indépendants disposent d'un nombre de jours défini par la loi pour déposer leur dossier de candidature auprès d'Elections Cameroun. Parmi les pièces exigées figurent une déclaration de candidature, un extrait de casier judiciaire, un certificat de nationalité, une attestation de domicile, ainsi que le versement de la caution prévue par la loi.
Donc on a 10 jours pour ça et le décompte commence dès la convocation du corps électoral. Et l'ECAM produit un seul document qui est l'attestation d'inscription sur une liste électorale qu'on demande à tous les candidats. Tous ceux qui veulent être candidats indépendants, nous avons également des documents que nous pouvons leur produire. Ce sont les documents de dépôt de signature.
S'ensuit l'examen des dossiers par l'ECAM, les recours éventuels devant le Conseil constitutionnel, puis la publication officielle de la liste définitive des candidats retenus. En toile de fond, les préparatifs techniques se poursuivent. Affichage des listes électorales, installation logistique des bureaux de vote, accréditation des observateurs et campagne de sensibilisation des électeurs.
On va organiser une vaste campagne de distribution des cartes avec le SMS qu'on va envoyer aux différents électeurs pour leur dire où est-ce qu'on se trouve pour qu'ils viennent retirer leurs cartes.
Selon l'article 88, la campagne électorale ne peut débuter qu'à partir du 15e jour précédant le scrutin. Jusqu'à là, toute propagande est interdite. Un processus structuré en attendant le lancement officiel de la campagne électorale qui se referme à minuit, la veille du jour de vote.
Bien qu'emprisonné depuis 2017 pour des faits de sécession dans le Nozo, Bertin Kizop est le premier candidat à avoir déposé sa candidature devant l'ECAM. Tandis que Paul Biya et Maurice Kamto ne se sont pas encore signalés, d'autres candidats via le mandataire viennent aux nouvelles, notamment pour ce qui est des candidatures indépendantes. Joël Essenge et Gizogo.
À l'ECAM, notamment à son siège où nous nous trouvons, le compte à rebours pour le dépôt des candidatures a donc commencé. Et ce dépôt de candidature s'est fait devant une commission interne mise en place par l'ECAM qui n'est pas prévue par la loi. Et cette commission-là est donc à pied d'œuvre. Et jusqu'ici, une seule candidature a été enregistrée, c'est celle de Bertin Kizop, président du Cameroun Party for Social Justice, qui a donc déposé sa candidature samedi, donc le lendemain de la convocation du corps électoral. En dehors de Bertin Kissop, 5 autres candidats ont envoyé leurs mandataires ici s'informer, notamment pour récupérer des fiches de candidature en tant que candidat indépendant. Dans ce registre-là, on retrouve le parti Onction pour le développement, mais aussi le parti Jouvence de Valère Bessala.
J'étais là à Elekam pour savoir quelle est la procédure et s'il y a des fiches, effectivement. Et effectivement, il y a des fiches. Ils m'ont remis les fiches que voici.
De quoi s'agit-il pour ces candidats? Il s'agit de savoir exactement quelles fiches, comment il faut les remplir, où il faut valider les documents, notamment devant quelles autorités administratives il faut se rendre. Et les camarades du ces derniers jours refusaient par exemple de remettre à l'avance des fiches de candidature à ces candidats qui avaient bien voulu gagner quelque peu du temps. Mais les camarades estimaient que les fiches ne pouvaient être à la disposition des candidats qu'une fois le corps électoral convoqué. En attendant, aucune nouvelle de la candidature du président de la République qui a annoncé dimanche qu'il se portait une fois de plus candidat pour la présidence de la République, mais aussi pour Maurice Kamto, dont les émissaires n'ont pas encore été aperçus ici au siège de l'ECAM. Il faut donc dire que les principaux candidats qui sont attendus se font encore désirer ici à l'ECAM. Depuis le siège de l'ECAM pour Equinox Télévision, Joël Essenge, Gizogo.
Parlons à présent des élections au sein de l'ordre des avocats au barreau du Cameroun qui ont débuté ce lundi par l'Assemblée générale extraordinaire. Cette dernière est supposée évacuer la question sur le vote électronique qui avait conduit en décembre dernier au report des travaux. Les détails dans le compte rendu d'Élisée Bogba et Ben Christy Moudio.
Nous nous trouvons au Palais des Sports de Yaoundé où se tiennent les travaux de l'Ordre des avocats au barreau du Cameroun. Des travaux qui concrètement renvoient à l'Assemblée générale élective et à l'Assemblée générale extraordinaire. C'est cette dernière qui se tient en ce moment. Elle porte sur le vote électronique comme mode d'élection pour les futurs scrutins au sein de l'Ordre. Les avocats avec lesquels nous avons discuté ces dernières minutes sont plutôt favorables à cette digitalisation.
Je pense vraiment que ça va aussi moderniser et rendre nos assemblées générales plus efficaces.
On pense beaucoup plus à la modernisation de notre barreau. Et vous comprenez bien qu'on ne peut pas continuer à être en retard par rapport aux autres pays.
Nous sommes en 2025, n'est-ce pas? On ne peut pas avoir le vote anachronistique comme on faisait ça avant. Le monde est en train de changer, donc il faut qu'aussi le barreau change. Malheureusement, ce n'est pas pour cette fois, c'est pour la prochaine fois, mais quand même, c'est un peu d'avance.
Il propose par ailleurs au gouvernement d'envisager ce mode d'élection pour les futures échéances électorales.
On peut faire ça aussi au Cameroun, un autre jour, parce que si le barreau prend l'avance, aussi l'État du Cameroun aussi peut créer quelque chose du barreau et décider aussi pour les prochaines élections. Ce n'est pas pour les élections en octobre, peut-être les prochaines échéances au Cameroun, on fait ça le vote électronique aussi.
Cette question de vote électronique évacuée, les avocats se pencheront sur 4 élections. Celle du président de l'Assemblée générale de l'Ordre et de son vice, celle des 15 membres du Conseil de l'Ordre des avocats au barreau du Cameroun et enfin celle du bâtonnier. Alors ici, au Palais des Sports de Yaoundé, plus de 2000 avocats ont fait le déplacement pour prendre part à cette Assemblée générale élective et à cette Assemblée générale extraordinaire. Ils choisiront parmi une cinquantaine de candidats ceux qui seront à la tête de leur ordre. Depuis le Palais des Sports de Yaoundé, Élisée Bogba, Ben Christy Moudio pour Equinox Télévision.
Fin de la première partie de ce journal, la seconde est consacrée à notre série de grands reportages. Et dans ce nouvel épisode de la série Le Cameroun comme il va, nous nous intéressons à la commune de Yabassi. C'est un véritable bastion agricole qui connaît beaucoup de coupures prolongées de l'électricité. Et il y a aussi son réseau routier qui est dans un état lamentable. Nos reporters Cédric Ding et Danny Warens II dressent la carte postale d'un arrondissement moins reluisant et très important du département d'Unkam.
Quartier PK14 à Douala. C'est ici que débute l'autre partie de notre aventure.
Premier tronçon, PK14 Bonepoupa. Des dizaines de reportages ont été tournés sur cet axe, rendu encore tristement célèbre.
Dans ce nuage de poussière, les automobilistes roulent presque les yeux fermés sur l'axe PK14, PK21.
Nous n'avons pourtant pas le choix. C'est par là que nous devons passer pour gagner la localité de Yabassi dans le département du Nkam. Les bourbiers sont presque toujours là et le bitume tarde à faire son arrivée. Nous arrivons à la seconde portion de notre parcours, l'axe Bonepoupa-Yabassi. Après quelques kilomètres, nous sommes contraints de nous arrêter, saisis d'effroi, face à un immense gouffre qui coupe presque la route en deux. À cette époque, le gratin administratif se déporte sur les lieux. Après avoir constaté l'ampleur des dégâts, le ministre a diagnostiqué la cause du problème. Il a tenu à terre toutes les récriminations relevées ces dernières heures, notamment portant sur la mauvaise qualité des travaux. La première étape de notre périple sur les routes du département du Nkam nous conduit ici, sur ce tronçon routier Yabassi-Bonepoupa. Souvenez-vous, il y a un an, à peu près, cette route s'effondrait. Recevait la visite du ministre des Travaux publics pour l'évaluation des dégâts. Passé un an plus tard, eh bien, vous le constatez, rien ou presque ne semble inexorablement. La question qui taraude les esprits des automobilistes qui empruntent cette route est: combien de temps va-t-il falloir pour que la route à terme soit complètement coupée en deux? Bien malin qui pourrait y répondre. Elvis est chauffeur sur cet axe. Il voit la grande faille s'élargir chaque jour et comme tous ceux qui arpentent cette route, il a peur.
Vous allez voir que tant bien que mal, après le passage du ministre, on a eu à mettre des petites plaques de signalisation, des déviations. Donc, mais malheureusement, depuis un certain temps, il y a certaines plaques qui se retrouvent dans le ravin. Cela pousse à croire que soit l'érosion est en train de continuer, ou soit peut-être les intempéries qui sont revenus sont en train de faire grignoter encore l'espace. Moi qui le fais aussi souvent de nuit, il y a des camions, des grumiers qui passent. Quand vous êtes ici sur place, là, ça vibre. Donc vraiment, la crainte est vraiment grande.
Même si sur l'ensemble du chemin, le bitume semble encore tenir, des experts nous confient qu'il existe d'autres points de rupture comme celui-là qui ne tarderont pas, si rien n'est fait, à se manifester. Nous arrivons dans la commune rurale de Yabassi. En ce 1er mai 2025, la ville semble déserte. Le gros de l'activité s'étant déporté à la place du défilé. Les travailleurs y sont, le parterre administratif de la ville aussi. Le maire étant absent, nous profitons à l'issue de la parade pour tenter d'arracher quelques mots au préfet sur les difficultés des populations de cette commune. Habilement, il botte en touche. En tant que préfet, quels sont les principales griefs des travailleurs dont vous avez souvent connaissance durant votre exercice quotidien?
Il y en a beaucoup, mais vous convenez avec moi que ce n'est pas à moi de présenter les griefs, les difficultés.